Hello, friends. All right, let's just see. Let's see while we're giving the things on my end a chance to catch up. Good evening, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Gosh, it's like my favorite time of the year, like my favorite almost entire night of the year. Let's see. Let's see. Make sure that you guys can see me. Yes? Oh, there we go. I think it's coming. I think it's coming. Oh, good. Yes, 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 yes. Hi, guys. Hello. Happy. What day is it? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. We're all over the board, right? Sometimes I was with some of you last night. Normally we're here on Saturdays. Now it's a Tuesday. I'm also here on Wednesdays for What's New Wednesday. So just got to figure out what day of the week it is. It doesn't really matter though, because we're here to have a ton of fun tonight. Welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the 2023 Year in Review Traveler's Notebook class. This is, you guys, I swear, one of my, I think I have two favorite projects every year. The first is my December Daily or December Documented. The second is all the about last months that we do, and kind of wrapping that all up in the Year in Review project kit. So I'm so excited that you guys are here with me tonight. When I say tonight, I mean those of you that are with me live. Now, I'm also excited for those of you that are watching the replay, because I know there are some of you that have already bought the kit and just tonight didn't work out for you. But I also know that there are some of you that will be popping in all throughout the year, because you will be grabbing a kit as long as you can. Typically what happens is, I don't know, I maybe sell through about 2/3 of them up until this point. And then as I start doing the about last months throughout the year, people always come back and say, oh my gosh, I didn't get the kit. So I've learned, this is my third year doing the kit. So I have some that will still stick around for a while. So I know some of you will be watching this, maybe even mid-year. Some of you might start with us and then come back and circle back to the video. So all of that to say, welcome. No matter where you're watching from, when you're watching live or replay or what have you, welcome. We have so much to cover tonight. This class will be a little bit different than you may have taken from me in the past if you have not done one of the Traveler's Notebook Year in Review classes with me in the past. If you're used to like one of the mini book classes. This will talk a lot. I'll talk a lot. I'll show a lot of examples. Together, well, I should say together, I will be working tonight on my January about last month. So we'll get our Traveler's Notebook set, we'll decorate pockets, we'll get our insert all decorated and ready to go. And then I will be working on January, because we're at the end of January. So that's about the time that we do our about last month for the month. We will talk about the rest of the months during class, and I'll show you and I'll talk about different techniques, and I will we'll sample some different techniques that I've used so you can get a real good feel for them. But I will not be decorating the rest of my Traveler's Notebook for the year. I think what most of you will be doing, as I've talked to you over the last couple of years, is that you wait, and kind of this time every month as a new month starts, you go back and then kind of get your about last month done. So we'll talk about some tips that will help you stay on top of that. That I have kind of picked up along the way, and kind of that's the plan for tonight, you guys. So lots of playing, lots of learning, lots of sharing of ideas and things. And when I say sharing of ideas, I encourage you guys, those of you that are watching live, I encourage you to share in the chat, especially if you have done this project with me before, because I do it one way and my way is not necessarily the right way. It's just the way I do it. And again, as I've talked to some of you over the years, you've had some great ideas about some different things. So if you would be willing to share those in the chat as we get going, I would love that. All right, before I change all the lights and rotate the camera and we get going, I just want to look at the chat so I can kind of get a feel for who's here, okay? If you are watching the live and you're not sure what I'm talking about, there is a live chat that takes place. So regardless of what device that you're viewing on, that chat, if you're live, is available. And that is a great place for you to pop in and say hello. That's also a great place for you to ask questions. Once I get going, then it's much easier for me to kind of look up and see the chat. Right now, there's lots of things flying by and I can't see them. So in a minute, I will stop and look at the chat. But great place for questions. If I miss your question, don't be shy, ask it again, especially if you put it in all caps. Then if I happen to glance up, then I tend to see the all caps. But the other thing, if you are here and someone asks a question and you feel like you know the answer to that question, you can answer it because some of you may know the answer. So that works as well. All right, let's look. All right, so it looks like TK. This is TK's third year. I love that. Yes. Carla, it's Carla's third year as well. Yeah, this is the third year that I've done one of these project kits, and it's a lot of fun, and I think you guys enjoy it as well. Hi, Pam. Pam's third year also. I love that, you guys. I love that. I'm seeing those of you that are repeat offenders in a good way, right? Not in a bad way, but repeat offenders. That means for those of you that maybe this is your first time, I think you're in. I think you're in for a treat. You're in a good spot because there are lots of people that do the kit every year, so they learn something new every time. At least I think. Hi, Dandy, a first timer. Okay, good. I love it. Dandy's a first timer. Shannon, hi, Shannon. It's her second year. Needs to catch up last year's. We'll talk about that because, like with any type of crafting project, I know sometimes we get behind. So I'll talk about some tips that will help you if you do get behind. Behind is not behind. It's just an opportunity to have a craft project to work on in the future, okay? But we'll talk about some tips that kind of will set you up when you are able to circle back and come back and work on it. So I'll make sure to address that as well. Anne is first time. Awesome. Kathy, third time. Joy, third time. Third time is a charm, right? Until next year. Then it's the fourth time, and then the fourth time is the best. No. Let's see. Joy. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Carmen's a greenie. I love it. Alicia's greenie, brand new. Heather, brand new. I love it, you guys. Robin, brand new. Laura, brand new. Lollipop Girl, brand new. Tracy, brand new. Okay, you guys, I love it. Jeanette's is saying it's her third year, and Karen Day is saying it's her first time. So you guys, we have a really good balance of newbies and people that have been doing this with me for the last couple of years. Which is good because newbies, I want you guys to ask the questions. If there's something that I don't cover, but if you have the question, chances are there's another newbie out there that maybe has the same question as you do. So don't be shy. And then those of you, like I said, who've been around for a while, if you have tips that you've picked up along the way that work for you, I'd love it if you'd share those as well. Monique is third time. Big Cheryl, yay! Big Cheryl, thank you. Shirley Winslow, very dear friend. I was with her this past weekend, and the group of ladies that I was with, they affectionately call her Big Cheryl, and she's the sweetest thing ever. But I said to her, she's always watches, but she lurks. And I said, Big Cheryl, I said, Shirley, just please one time pop in and say, I'm here, I'm in the house. So she did. I love that. Thank you, Shirley. Thanks, Cheryl. Favorite kit ever. I love it, Mindy. Mindy loves the kit. Joe, third time, just have to finish the others. Jessica, first time. All right, guys, I am going to rotate the camera. I will turn off overhead lights, turn on studio lights, also turn on the fan because sweater, even though I will tell you it is, let's see if it will, oh, I don't know. Let's see what the temperature is outside. Oh, it's a balmy 16 degrees Fahrenheit here in Utah. So even though it's freezing cold outside, I'm going to be hot because I have a sweater on. So we'll turn the fan on too. All right, so all those things we are going to, let's do this one first. We are going to go. Shannon, thank you. Shannon is playing Colleen for me tonight and is reminding me to plug in my phone. All right, perfect. There we go, plugging in. Heather says, many classes with me. Hi, Christy. Oh my goodness, Christy. Christy and I go way back. I think all the way to when I was working for Scenic Route many years ago. I met Christy and her mom at an event, and oh my goodness. I met Christy and her mom at an event, and just, we really clicked. We really hit it off, so. Love seeing you here too, Christy. I love seeing everyone here. Jessica just asked a great question. Is the video available for playback after the class? Always. Jessica, my YouTube videos always will be available. So if you can't stay for the whole thing, or you want to go back and revisit a concept, or you need a refresher, whatever it is, yes, you'll still be able to access the class at any time. However, you will not see This class, you won't see this video when you go to my YouTube page because it is exclusive to those of you that purchase the kit, right? So just make sure you keep hold of the URL or the link for the class. I know some people will add it to their watch list on YouTube just so you have it there. And don't worry if at any point you forget or you lose that link. I don't expect you to memorize it, but if you lose that link, you can just shoot me an email and say, hey, I lost the link, and then I just double check. I just look you up to make sure you did purchase the class, and then I send you the link. So no worries. Yes, thank you, Karen. I did plug in, so we are good. Shannon said, I love that cover. Are there more? Yes, Shannon, this is the Mint Scallop Traveler's Notebook on my website. And as you can see, that's the one I used. I loved it so much, I used it twice. No, actually, I have one that I'm going to be working in and then one I already worked in, but this is actually the same color that I used last year. It just super neutral color. It works really well for a lot of different things. Peggy said, hi, Jessica, you are going to love it. Layla is so much fun and full of information. Well, thank you, Peggy. Oh, there we go. And Shannon, great reminder. Shannon said, click the thumbs up, everyone. So yes, if you, at some point during class, if you'd click the thumbs up, that's super important. TK has the same cover. I know. I think quite a few of you have the same cover because that's the one that I was using and that's the one that went well. Hi, Judith K. It's so nice to see you. Oh no, everyone in your house is sick. I'm sorry to hear that. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started. I have lots of things. As you can see, I have lots and lots and lots of things out on my desk. There's one thing that I want to have everybody do at the same time. One of you, and I don't remember who it was, that's not important. It's just important that the person emailed me and said, hey, just wanted to double check. There may be one little measurement that's incorrect. And she was in fact correct that there is one small measurement that's incorrect. So I want everybody right off the bat to just fix this. So if you go to page, and you know what's really funny? I was noticing as I was looking for this earlier, for some reason, there's only page numbers on one side of every sheet, not double sides. So I don't know why. I write all the instructions, take all the photos, design the project, and then I have someone else. Oh no, you know what? These I actually formatted myself, so I don't even know what's going on. Anyhow, doesn't matter. What I want you to do is turn to the page that has May at the top. All right, May, June, July, August. We need to make the correction on July, and we'll address this when we are when we're talking about July as well. But right where it says pocket, it says trim 3 by 3 3/4. It should be trim 3 by 5 because our pocket is the width of our insert. Our inserts are 5 inches wide, so that should be 3 by 5. All right, so just see my little red pen. I just circled that and said 3 by 5. And she had a pretty good idea because when she got there, she looked at the picture and she's like, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense. So if that was you and you are here, thank you again for giving me the heads up on that. And it sounds like we have people using all different covers, and that's a really good point. It does not matter the cover that you use. Whatever makes you happy. If you have a bright red polka dot one that makes you happy, then you should use it. If you have a super neutral black one and that makes you happy, then you should use it. Just because I use something, you use what you want. Stacy's using the buffalo plaid. Carmen is using the champagne. All right, guys, and Holly, it is her first time. Alicia, the instructions should be in your kit. You should have printed instructions in your kit, okay? You should have printed instructions in your kit. All right, so what we're going to do, we are going to cut our papers to start. Was this emailed out to Access Only? I'm searching your email. Dandy, yes. Are you talking about the instructions? I think you're talking about the instructions because you're here. Yes, you should have the instructions. Check your, this is just for Dandy. There are a few people that purchase Access Only. So let me just clarify this really quick. You all, if you purchase the physical kit, will have the printed instructions in your kit. If you purchased Access Only, you don't have printed instructions. You should have a link in your email that has the link to download the instructions. If you're not seeing it, double check your spam or junk folder. If you still don't see it, shoot me an email and I will get that off to you as soon as we're done. Hi, Kari, nice to see you, and Dondalee too. We're just getting started, ladies, so you are good. And Alicia, no worries, because I know every teacher does it differently, and some people don't, some teachers don't provide the printed, but I do. All right, hi, Pam. Okay, folks. So what, folks? I don't know where that came from. I never say folks. Okay, folks. Okay, friends, we're going to go ahead and get started. Jessica asked a question that I will address as we get going. What do we do with the extra pages after the 12 months? So hang tight. Great question. We'll talk about that one. Okie dokies. So let's move things off to the side for a second, and we're going to grab our paper trimmer, and I'm going to pick out, bringing out the Mac Daddy, the big one, just because I like it the best. If we are trimming anything after this, I'll probably use my little one. So the first paper that we are going to trim is this guy. We are using a mixture of products in this project kit. Kind of, I would say, the base of it is Vicky's print shop collection. So wonderful collection for this type of project because it's super neutral, a lot of different great colors, patterns, but it's not specific to any type of theme per se. So that's the one that we're using. So we're going to take this paper and we will trim it into the individual 3x4 cards. So you have 4 across, 3 down, that makes 12 cards. All right, so go ahead and trim off the product strip. I do want you to save the product strips. The product strips are those things that I just cut off of that top one. Because look at that. That's an awesome little strip that we can use as we are decorating. So go ahead and save those product strips as you trim those off. And from here, we are just going to start our trimming. Okay, so I'm going to trim in between each of those rows of cards, horizontal rows, vertical columns. Okay, and now, oops, every once in a while, I don't quite get that straight. I was saying to the ladies last night we did the February setup for the Winter Traveler's Notebook Kit that I have an eye appointment next March. I don't know what month it is, in March, and I haven't been probably for 2 years. So I'm fully expecting a change in the prescription, right? All right. So there we go, and I will just come back again to the rest of those cards, and all of those cards I am just cutting up. Super simple, and we will use those cards to decorate our pockets of our Traveler's Notebooks. Now, you know, and hopefully you know by now, if not, then as you're opening your kit, you know, the kit does not include a Traveler's Notebook cover, and that is for a very specific reason. I would say probably 75% of you already have a cover. So I do not include a cover in the kit. I may, for 2024, have an optional add-on cover because it will be one of my own Lail by Mail Traveler's Notebooks. So, but you do not have a cover included. So we'll just spend a few minutes decorating the pockets. You don't have to have a cover to do this project. You don't have to have a cover to do the whole project throughout the whole year. You could just be using the insert. But we will spend a little bit of time with our cards for the pocket. So let me take a quick look at our instructions. We are going to, so I'm going to move my trimmer out of the way for a sec. And I will bring in both Traveler's Notebooks. So I hope everyone's doing well tonight and staying warm. Crazy kind of weird well, part of the US at least is going through some really weird temperatures. And then part of the US is going through opposite really weird temperatures. Western part of the US, freezing cold, lots of rain, lots of snow. I'd say eastern part of the US is having unseasonably warm temperatures and not a lot of precipitation at all, which is very unusual for this time of year. So I hope everybody's hanging in there wherever you are. Okay, so I've already cut my cards. We need to open one of our packages. Oh, good. Dandy said she found the instructions. You guys, if you ever are not seeing something from me, Double check your spam or junk folder. I don't know why. Some of you, my things go into your spam or junk folder. Others of you, no problem at all. Some of you, some things go in and not others. I don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason. So it's just a good kind of public service announcement anyway. You should always be checking your junk spam folder because anymore, I find things in there all of the time that really shouldn't be in there. I mean, I'm really glad that we have junk spam folders, right? Because when you go in there, you're like, oh my goodness, there's so much stuff that you're so glad that doesn't come into your inbox. But yeah, always a good idea to double check that junk spam folder. Icy conditions in Texas. Sarah's ready for some warm weather in LA. I was in kind of San Diego area this past weekend. When I landed on Thursday, it was beautiful, like 70 degrees. And then it was kind of raining on Sunday, but still beautiful. Still beautiful. All right. So I am just kind of spreading some of those pieces out. I have opened up the Print Shop journaling icons. Now, I'm not sure why they called them journaling icons because these are all really kind of icons, but whatever. It's the full pack that you have, all right? So everybody should have a full pack of all of these die cuts. Now, you can see I pulled out a little tray. Every time I pull out this white tray, somebody says, oh, wait, where did you get that? This is the lid of a container I got from IKEA. It's the lid. It works really well. If you have a cookie sheet, if you go to the dollar store and get one of their, like plastic silver trays or clear trays, whatever. I always like to pull out trays when I am opening up a new pack of die cuts because whether I'm designing or whether I'm playing myself, it's really good to be able to kind of spread things out and see what I have. All right. Also, a tray keeps them contained, but cookie sheet works, whatever you want to use. All right, so those are the die cuts. It's one package of die cuts. You also are going to have a baggie. And in that baggie, you're going to have some pieces. Now, what you have here will vary by kit because I broke up the Print Shop floral icons, okay, or floral embellishments, floral die cuts. Because there's a lot of flowers in there, there's a lot of words, there's a lot of leaves. So I broke those up between kits. So some of you will have these, some of you will have different flowers, some of you will have different words, but everybody has at least one large word. You have a couple flowers and a couple leaves, all right? So you have those as well. I'll just go ahead and put these in this same little container there. As we talk about other things that you have another little package of die cuts. Hi, Denise. Nice to see you. I know it's sometimes hard for you guys on the West Coast because it starts at 5. Like a class like tonight starts at 5, but then the East Coast it's 8. So we try to kind of balance. And the nice thing is you can come back if you need to. So a balance of projects in the kit between Print Shop and then some things that are exclusive to me. One of those is a package of die cuts. Hi, Vicki. Nice to see you. A package of die cuts from Pretty Little Studio. So this is the second year that I've worked with Melissa at Pretty Little Studio to do something exclusive for me. So you have some die cuts in there, and I'm just going to leave those in their own little package for a bit. You also have exclusive word stickers, word strip stickers, and those I showed Melissa, who owns Pretty Little Studio, the color palette of Print Shop, and I said, these are the words that I'd like, and this is the color palette, so it'd be really awesome when you create those stickers for me if you can create those kind of using the colors that are in Print Shop, so then everything kind of goes together. Last thing that we will talk about for now is this guy. So one of my friends, Jessica owns Color Cast Designs, and she does amazing acrylics. She's got a monthly kit club and then sells them a la carte, but I had her create this custom acrylic for us for the cover of our Traveler's Notebook insert. Okay, so I'm going to set that off to the side. We'll get to that in a minute. Set that off to the side, set these off to the side. We need some of these to start decorating our pockets. Again, if you don't have your Traveler's Notebook yet, if you don't have a cover, if you're you're not sure if you want to use a cover or not, just hang tight, relax, and we'll get our pockets decorated really quick, and then you can come back to that later if you want. All right, so starting from the top, I used this little yellow pocket. Okay, a little yellow pocket. Well, I don't know, it looks like a pocket to me. I guess it's more of a banner, but it looks like a pocket to me. So that I'm just going to tuck in right there. So for now, I'm just going to kind of lay things in, and once I get them where I want them, we'll talk about how you can secure them just a little bit so they don't kind of move around throughout the course of the year. Jill, hi Jill. Jill said, I love that you are collaborating with these other small businesses. Yes, thank you, Jill. It's, I'm small business, woman owned. Jessica from Colorcast Design, same thing, small business woman owned, and also Pretty Little Studio, Melissa, small business woman owned. So we got to support each other, right? And you guys are supporting too. You're supporting them too. So thank you. Lori, I'll talk about this when we get there. Some of yours has a layer on top of it that you need to peel off. If you're peeling that off right now, and that's just part of the acrylic, be really gentle because some of these little pieces are pretty thin. So just be careful. Yeah, there's a little bit of film. Kind of like when you get a new phone or a new TV, there's that kind of plastic film on the top. That's just part of the acrylic. All right, so there we go. We have that little guy first. And then it looks like we have... I need that guy. Somewhere there's so many die cuts in here, which is good until you're trying to find the one that you're looking for, right? Until you're trying to find the one that you're looking for. This is when I feel like we need the Jeopardy theme playing, right? Okay, let me take a closer look at it. Oh, I'm a ding-a-ling. The reason I can't find it is because it's a card. Nobody panic. Yeah, we're good. It is a card. There it is. So I have taken that card, and then that card is just, for now, just going to kind of go right in there. Actually, looks like I rotated it this way. So we'll just set those two there for now. We have that little hello banner. So let's grab that little hello banner. At any point, even if you're watching live, if you need another minute or two to find something, just pause. You can pause very easily, and then when you found what you need, then you can get started again, all right? So this little guy, I am going to go ahead and put a little bit of adhesive behind. So I put just a little bit of adhesive on the back of that hello. And then, oh, I gotta turn the fan on, hang on. I'm sitting here. It gets very warm. It gets very warm. There we go. With the studio lights on and then a sweater. So I am going to take a little foam square. And so I put it more towards that end, that little foam square. And I'll go ahead and kind of just add this little guy. I don't know, about right there. There's no right or wrong place to put it, but about right there. And I added that little foam square just so it gives a little bit of lift to the end of that banner. It makes it look a little bit more realistic, like it's kind of floating in the wind. All right, next up, we have another one of our cards, and it is the card that says noteworthy. Now, I am going to grab my Sharpie pen here because I like to outline things. If you are new to LAIL, this is something I do on pretty much everything. I just take a very fine tip Sharpie and do a quick little outline. Jo said her little R fell apart. So when we get there, let's talk about if that happened to you, you may be able to fix it. If not, then don't worry. Reach out to me and I'll help you figure out what we can do to fix that for you or get you a new one. All right, so that little guy, just had to pull that out, see what I had done there. That guy, aha. So if I put it in that pocket, I knew something was wrong because it is way higher here than it is over here. Mine didn't go in the second pocket. Mine went into the third pocket, all right? So if you have the same type of pocket configuration that I do, just skip a pocket and go down. If you have a different pocket configuration, then just kind of change things slightly or change things however you want to get your little things organized there. All right, now we're back to cards again. We have, let me see, I just put a card back there. Let me look, okay. I used this card and I used the back side. So I just needed a little bit of color to cover the blank part of the pocket. So that little guy just kind of went, and I used the Today We card. All right, so that little guy just kind of goes right in there and it'll help to cover up some of that blank space. Now we need that. So that is one of our die cuts from Vicky's die cut pack. Oh my goodness. You know what's really funny? I just saw this one. Hang on. Aha. That's because it's from this. It's because it's from the flowers one. I was looking at this going, oh my gosh, I never used that. Why didn't I use it? That's really fun. It's because I didn't have it in my little pack since we all had kind of different ones. Well, some of us had different ones. All right, so there we go. This guy, I need to put some adhesive on just so it will stick. Oh, I didn't add any pop dots or foam squares there. Okay, there we go. And then I have that little clip. That is a die cut. You have a couple of those. I don't think they are different from each other. I guess one's a little bit larger than the other. So you know what I'm going to do actually? I'm going to use the larger one here because I used that inside. I'm going to use the larger of the two. Doesn't really matter, but I'm going to use the larger of the two just because it'll fit a little bit better once we get to the inside. So that little guy will go right there, and that just looks like it is kind of clipped onto the card. Next up, we have the card that says, "This is the good life." So super easy, right? This is kind of my formula when it comes to decorating Traveler's Notebook pockets. Your 3x4 cards are perfect. They're the perfect size, typically in one sheet. You have lots of different patterns and lots of different colors. So one sheet really goes pretty far. All right, so all of that will end up moving up just a tad because we want to be able to see those things. This is the good life. I am leaving that background totally plain. So in my Traveler's Notebook, the background there is that kind of off-white leather. If you have a different color pocket there, and you want to maybe grab a piece of white cardstock from your stash or something so you don't see whatever color that is showing through, you could do that. So I'm just going to leave mine plain because it's white, and I need a couple pieces. I need one of my die cuts that says this here, and I need the butterfly. You may see another butterfly, one or two other butterflies, and typically what happens is someone will say, oh my gosh, Lael, I really like this other butterfly. Are we going to use it later? And I will say, yes, I used it later. But if you see a different butterfly that you'd like to use here, knock yourself out. Use the butterfly that you like right here. And then when we get deeper into the project and use the butterfly that you used there, then you'll just swap it out, okay? All right, so here we go. I used that butterfly and this little piece that says this here. So I'm going to add just a teeny bit of adhesive on the back of this here, just so it stays, right? I don't want it to get lost throughout the year. And then, did I put a little? I did. I put, let's see. I put one little pop dot behind that wing and one little pop dot. So upper left, lower right. And again, just added a few pop dots to give it a little bit of extra dimension. Whoopsie. If you are used to coming to the my Saturday sessions, the chat in the class is much different than chat in Saturday sessions because you guys are all working, which makes it easier for me because then I can keep looking up at the chat, and every once in a while I just have to say, hey, you guys still here? Because I don't hear from anyone for a while. All right, so there we go. And then I added one little word strip sticker that says, this is life. Same with these, if you see a word strip sticker that you would rather use instead here, you can do that. If I use the one that you use here later, then you'll just swap it out and use something different when we get there later. The one thing I will say, I was a little sneaky. Well, I wasn't sneaky, I planned it. These word strip stickers, any of you that happened to purchase the Word Strips Highlights stamp set, look at this happened. Good days. One of those days. Oh yeah, today. Do over. So basically everything that you see here that I gave to Melissa at Pretty Little Studio to design for me for the class, also stamps. So if you have fun with word strip stickers and want to do more word strips, and you have the highlights word strips stamps or want to get the word strip stamps, then basically that's why I designed those. Well, they can go, but they're just good, really good word strips to use for whatever. All right, guys, so our pockets are pretty much ready to go. Last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to come in with a little bit of adhesive and tack some of these pieces down. Where I can, I am going to tack pieces to each other, which means I tacked this guy to Noteworthy. I tacked, I will tack, oh, I tried to tack. I'll tack that right there. So those pieces stay together. I will tack this one, just a little bit of adhesive to that one. So those pieces stay together. And then really all I need to do is do one little strip of adhesive, probably right there. Now all of those pieces should be pretty well secure because they're now all attached to each other, all right? If I need to move some things around a little bit, I can. I think I need to put a little one maybe right there. All right, so there we go. Our pockets are nice and cute and ready to go. So now we're gonna get into the meat of the class. I'm going to put this guy off to the side because for now, this is the only time in class I will be using my cover. We'll be working on our insert from here on out. So if you're working in a small space like I am, go ahead and put that off to the side. It'll give you a little bit more space. I just have to find a free space to put that because it is a tornado in here. It's been crazy. It has been a crazy month. Lots of travel and lots of design and yes. Okay, let's get this one out of the way as well. All right, in your kits, you have a single. As I'm looking for mine. Oh, there it is. It's in a stack over here. You have a single insert that has lines, all right? So these inserts are part of a 2-pack. This one is on this pack. One of the inserts is dot grid and the other one is lined. We only use one insert for the project, so you have the one line insert. Oh, look at that. Kathy is a really good tip. Kathy said with the word strip stamp set, so that one that I showed you before, ink the whole thing so you could apply your ink to the whole thing and then stamp it all at once and then cut them out all at once so then everything's straight. That's a great tip. Okay. Oh yes, you have your one insert. When we talk about the insert, I think you have 24 pages here, okay? There's 24 pages in the insert, with this page being 1 and the back page being 24, which means that you have, I think you have 23 spreads. And when I say spread, that is a spread, okay? A 2-page spread. Before we do anything, there's something that I am going to do. And I will explain why as I'm going to do it, and you may want to follow along. Because there are 23 spreads, I personally do not want to do January, and then do February after that, and then do March after that. I want to have a blank spread in between each of my months. And I want to do that for a few reasons. Number one, if I don't, I'll have a whole blank second half of my insert. Now, that's not to say that I can't fill it with something, but I will have a whole blank second half. The primary reason why I want to do that is we're going to be doing a lot of stamping. You will be doing a lot of stamping throughout the year because the kit includes the 2023 About Last Month stamp set, right? So that's definitely a huge part of the kit. So I will be stamping every month. As we are stamping, something happens naturally, especially with a stamp set like this. Let me put that over to the side. That's my little note. With a stamp set like this that has a large surface area for each stamp, do you see how I have a little bit of shadowing or ghosting? Do you see that? F-E-B in reverse. It actually looks like D backwards E-F. But you see that shadowing or ghosting? That is unavoidable. The inserts are actually a very nice thickness, but when you're using a dark ink and you have a large surface area that's part of that stamp, it's unavoidable. So that's really the primary reason why I skip in between each month. I leave an empty spread in between each month. Now, as we get going, we'll talk about ideas on what you can do in between those off spreads. But what I like to do when I sit down, and I did this, you'll see for each spread in between, I mark an X in the upper left and the upper right corner. The reason I do that is as I get going, especially if you are doing every month, if you're coming back every month, you might forget, okay? So I'll do an intro page here. This will be January, and then I want to put an X and an X. So when I get here, I don't accidentally put February there. And then this will be February, and then I'll do an X and an X. Now, I happen to know that my photos are going over here. So if I wanted to put, if I put in pencil January, and then I put February, I'm okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And like I said, I recommend that you do this, whether you want to use a sticky, you can. Just remember, sometimes your stickies fall off. That's been known to happen to me where on a Saturday I will be doing something and I'll put a sticky on a page because I want to come back and do something to it. And then I forget. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? And then I just go over it. And then later you guys are like, Lael, you were going to do this there. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. And now because I'm talking, April, blank, May, okay. You guys will laugh because when I get to showing you my book and we start going, even though I had done this, I have two that are together. So trust me, you will be thankful to yourself down the road that you did this. All right. So what will happen is you will end up with, you have a page at the beginning and a page at the end. So at the end, you will not have a full spread, right? October, November, and December. All right, so 24 pages. I will not have a full spread at the end of December because I have one here and one here. So just kind of something to be aware of. Now I am good and should be ready to go with that. Okay, so let's get ready to slip cover that guy. I usually do what I like to call slip covering my inserts. And you may decide to do that here, or you may decide to make your cover permanent. Slip covering came about with my bi-monthly Traveler's Notebook kits because I take the slip cover off every month and put a new cover on to decorate it. So for example, this is February. We set this up last night. This was my sample. In my real one, I don't know where my real one is offhand. Maybe this is it. Oh yeah. In my real one, for example, I use the calendar. I use a monthly insert. So at the end of February, I do not want love and Valentine's and all the pink on my insert anymore. I am ready to move to March. So if I slip cover, kind of like when we were in 3rd grade and we'd get our textbooks and cover them with a brown paper bag and doodle all over them, right? If we slip cover, once the month is over, we can take that cover off and put a new one on. So I'm in the habit of slip covering all of my inserts. You probably will not, unless you really don't like that pattern paper and you want to do something else, but you probably will not be taking that cover off. With that said, if you decided that you wanted to actually adhere this paper to the cover instead of slip cover, you could. But I am going to slip cover because that's just the easy way to do it. All right, what we want to do, you'll notice with this paper, this is the paper that we're using to slip cover or decorate our cover. You have probably a 1-inch white grid border all the way around. I do not want that white grid border at the top here because it will look really funny. I'd have a white grid border here, and at the bottom it would be totally plain, so it would look really off balance. So when we're going to cut, we want to cut that kind of top part off, all right? Let's see what our instructions say. We are going to trim the white grid along the top just above the row of the dots, okay? So grab your trimmer. We're going to trim. We'll first trim our product strip off, and then we'll trim off that strip of white grid. Let me grab my other trimmer. Okay. I was at a crafting thing this past weekend, and, oh good, there it is. I thought that I hadn't unpacked that yet. I was going to be sad. All right. I love it. You guys are having a discussion about slip covering our textbooks when we were kids, right? Alicia said, I absolutely love the brown paper bag book covers in school. I decorated them for each class. Great memories, right? This is the exact idea. This is kind of funny. I'll just show you. Some of you have seen this before, but some of you haven't if this is your first time doing a Traveler's Notebook with me. This is where it all started. I've been using Traveler's Notebooks, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years. And at one point I decided, oh my gosh, you know what? I want to decorate the cover because it'd be really fun to decorate the cover. Well, I don't know what I was thinking. It was Christmas and I glued the paper. I glued the paper to my Traveler's Notebook cover, which was great until January rolled around and I went, whoops, I glued the paper. So that's how my idea for slip covers came about, that I can do all my decorating on the cover and then kind of switch it out as I need to. And that was the actual one. Hi, Lainey, nice to see you. Nikki said we had to cover all of our books. She became an expert slip cover maker. Yeah, from the brown paper bags from the grocery store back then, right? And they were basic. Well, I guess they're always basic if you turn them over or turn them inside out. But yeah, they were always basic. I don't even think they had anything printed on them, right? All right, we want to save that product strip too. Remember, we're saving our product strips. All right, and we wanted to trim off that kind of just top row of white grid. Okay, put that off to the side. Now we're cooking. We need to measure 8 1/4 inches from the top. So we're going to cut somewhere down here. The reason we're going to do it 8 1/4 is 8 1/4 is the height of our inserts. The inserts that I use are called standard wide. So standard is 8.25 inches tall. Standard wide is 8.25 inches tall. The difference in the two, as you'd imagine, based on the name, is the, hang on, what did I just do with that one? Oh, here's another one, is the width. So standard is about 4.33 inches. Standard wide is 5. So you get quite a bit more room in a standard wide, especially in a spread, than you do a standard. But 8.25. So we want this to be 8.25 inches tall because our insert is 8.25 inches tall. So this is the top. Let's go ahead and rotate it. And we'll come down to, actually I'm going to go this way. My cut edge is here. And I want to go to 8.25 or 8 1/4. And I will trim right there, and that's actually going to take me pretty much right in between that last little, not that last little, but it's pretty much going to take me between circles. So now look at that. When we do our slip covering, we're going to have nice circles. It's almost like, it wasn't. But it's almost like, look at that. It's almost like it was designed for us. You have 5 across and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. All right, so there we go. Let's put this guy off to the side for now. And let's keep this guy out. Put your trimmer away for a bit. All right, so now that is 8 1/4 by 12. We want to fold this in half. And whenever we're folding paper, I always recommend that we fold with the outside facing in. So this will be our outside. When I say outside facing in, this is the outside. And when I fold, my outside is facing in. The reason I recommend that you fold your paper that way, even if you're scoring, is because if you're ever going to have any breakage of the fibers, you are going to see the breakage of the fibers on the fold, and that is the fold. This is not considered the fold. That's the inside. This is the fold. So if you're going to see breakage in the fibers, you will see it on the fold. If we fold outside in, then our breakage of the fibers is not on the outside. It is on the inside. All right, so, and that goes if you are card making or anytime you're folding paper. It's just a good idea to get in the habit of folding outside in. We are taking our insert, and there is the easiest way to know the top and the bottom. Turn it over the back, make sure that Carpe Diem logo is on the bottom. That way you know it is facing the right direction, okay? Turn it over. Take the spine of your insert and place it in the center fold, the center of where you folded, and close. All right, rotate. I'm going to use a tool that I always have with me. Hopefully I always have it with me. It's my pinky. I'm going to use that edge of my pinky, and I'm just going to run it along the edge of that insert. So I'm creating a crease right there, and it's exactly where it needs to be. I don't have to measure anything because there it is. So when I lift up, I have my cover that's been creased, and then I have the cover of my insert underneath it. So I want to lift up the cover and fold that right at the crease. And then I have a nice straight fold, and it's exactly measured where I need it to be. All right. Now we're going to turn that over to the back side and do the exact same thing. Okay, exact same thing. There's my pinky. I am rubbing it along that edge. It's giving that crease exactly where it needs to be. I will lift up the paper. I will lift up the back cover, and I will tuck that under. Now it fits perfectly. The reason that you want to do that, and this part's really important, the reason that you want to do that, instead of trying to do it open and then doing it here and doing it here, when you close that, you haven't given yourself enough excess to round that spine, right? We need a little bit of extra to work its way around that spine. That's why flipping and doing it like I did seems to work really well, because you have it exactly as you need. In your kits, you have a roll of my date washi tape. And there are a couple of things I want to show you about the date washi tape before we actually use it. And you don't have to do this to yours. I will do it to mine. There are actually 3 different sections to this washi tape. Each section is separated by double lines. Those sections fit along the bottom of your insert. So see, like that, it is designed to fit along the bottom of one of your pages. When you roll that out, there are 3 different designs. Okay, so that first one that I rolled, you'll see, my goodness, has the months of the year along the top. It has some little tiny colored dots below that. And then you have your days 1 through 31 stacked. That second design has your months stacked at the beginning, has 2 vertical rows of dots. And then to the right of that, you have 3 rows of numbers, 1 through 31. The last little section there has a 3rd different format. So it has all of your months across the top. It has all those little dots below, and it has all the little numbers below. Mary said, brilliant, Lael. I hadn't noticed that before. Sarah said, genius. Monique said, genius. Denise said, Lael, you're so smart. You guys, I use Traveler's Notebook. So when I make products, I won't say all the time, but a lot of times I think about what I'm making because I want it to work for me. And if it works for me, then it works for you. So I think most people don't know that unless I happen to see them and tell them. But what's fun about that, really in one roll, we have lots of different kind of variations to play with. All of that to say, right now, I usually will take some washi and tack that down, tack that inside cover down. Now, all I did there, I just separated one of those kind of 3 sections. In my sample over here, oh, that's not my sample. That's something else I want to show you guys. I actually did the whole, I used the whole kind of strip. So you can decide what you want to do, if you want to put it there or if you just want to do a little bit. But really, we're just kind of tacking that down so it doesn't come off. I say tacking it down, we do that washi tape because if we are changing out our slip cover every month, we don't want, we don't want that to be permanent. You may find that you need to put a little bit of extra adhesive. If you ever have washi that is kind of not wanting to stick, if you put a little extra adhesive underneath it, then it'll help it out. But what I've just done here is I have kind of taken my fingernail and really pressed along there. In this case, that where the washi is sticking, it's kind of getting stretched a little bit as I open and close and open and close. So if you feel like you need to use a little bit of extra adhesive, you can do that. I'm just going to try to press really hard and see how that works. Oh, wait, what happened? Deborah was on her way home. A delivery truck ran over my car. Oh, my goodness, Deborah. I'm so sorry. I hope you're okay. I'm assuming you're okay since you're here, but you were trapped in your driver's seat. Oh, my goodness, not injured. Oh, Deborah. Oh, my gosh. I bet that scared the you-know-what out of you. I bet it's square. I was going to say bejesus. I don't know if that's okay to say. But I bet that scared you so much. I'm so sorry to hear that. But hopefully, even, guess what, Deborah? Even if you just hang out with us and not work, maybe you feel a little bit too jittery to work, you know what? Just hang out and you're among friends and watch and have fun, and I'll hopefully take your mind off of that. And I hope you're okay, and I hope your car's okay, and the other driver was okay, but very, very scary. And that's always an interesting transition. I always feel like I'm on the Today Show and I've just talked about like a horrible earthquake where lots of people died, and then I have to transition into like Taylor Swift's new album. So we're just doing a little transition here back to the project. I like to round my corners because the inserts that I use have rounded corners. So I like to round my corners. So I'm just coming in and rounding my corners. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that. All right. The other thing that I do, we talked about outlining before. You know me, I like to do the outlining. So if we just see the difference there, outlined version on the right, unoutlined version on the left. So you can see, I think it makes a big difference, but that's just me. When I outline my cover, I like to open it up. And this is based on experience. When I try to go too fast and it's closed, half the time my pen goes whoop, right off the edge. And if it does that, it's no big deal. But just a little tip that I thought I'd share if you are outlining. Now, some of you are inkers. Some of you like to ink the edges of things. And if you are an inker and want to ink those edges, then you should absolutely do that. As we get going, we will talk about inks because I will be using, oopsie, open that up. I will be using different inks. We'll talk about different inks that I've used throughout the project. But if you want to ink your edges, you could do that. Yes, Denise said it's my trademark. It is definitely my trademark, right? Somebody called it Lael lining. Instead of outlining, called it Lael lining. All right, so there we go. There is the start. Now what we're going to do, you may decide to wait on this as we are working. Mine was totally okay. But I thought about this after the fact. I thought, you know what? might make it a little bit easier to work if I haven't put this thing on yet. So let's talk about putting that on. I will go ahead and put mine on, but you may decide to wait a bit before you put that on. The base of that decoration for the cover is using this 3x4 card. I loved that. And you know what? It's like, again, it was made. It's not made for me, but it's like it was made for this project because it has that little space right there. It has the camera because this project is definitely about photos. It's about photos and words, right? It is about photos and words. And so photo and then room for our little words or our title there. So I will add a little bit of adhesive there. And I have, again, we have perfect, this card is going to center perfectly between all of those little circles up at the top. So we have a row of circles at the top. We have the column along the side, column along the side. So it just like sits so nice and well there. All right, let's talk about our acrylic. So you have a little baggie in your kit. This, if you missed me talking about this before, my friend Jessica owns Color Cast Designs. If you are not familiar with Color Cast Designs, she does wonderful acrylics. Lots and lots of different acrylics and wood veneer pieces, and she is a sweetheart. But I worked with her this year to design something very specific for us for our project. And it is this black acrylic piece that says 2023 year in review. Now, some of you at the beginning were saying, wait a minute, mine isn't black, mine is brown. The acrylic has a coating on it. So some of you may have the coating on it on the front, some of you may not. I imagine that if, as it's being cut, if it starts coming off, I would imagine that Jessica or somebody that works for Jessica kind of peels that off so it's not partially on or partially off. That is why some of you may have black, some of you may not. If yours isn't black, it's just that the coating is still there. You want to be pretty careful as you are pulling off that coating. And you even want to pull the coating off of the back, all right? Even if you have nice black on the front, you still want to pull the coating off of the back because we need to adhere this. And if you apply your adhesive to that back coating, one day you're going to open your project and the black's not going to be there. You're just going to have the outline of this brown on your project because it's not permanent. So either take your fingernail or take, oh, that's one thing that's still in my bag packed from the weekend. Either take your fingernail or take your tweezers, whatever you want to take, and pull off that coating. Now, be very gentle, okay? Be very gentle as you're pulling this off. Acrylic can be brittle, right? We don't want your piece to break, especially when you get down towards the bottom, all right? When you get down towards the bottom, some of these little guys get a little bit thin, especially like the end of the R, all right? So be gentle. If the end of your R comes off, I want you to try something. I don't know if it'll work, we'll see. If the end of your R comes off, because you ate your spinach for lunch and you're like Popeye, I want you to try to glue it back, and I'll show you what I mean. One of the items on the supply list for class was liquid adhesive. So I just have some Lawn Fawn liquid glue. If you have Nouveau, if you use Eileen's Tacky Glue, whatever kind of clear drying liquid adhesive that you have, that is what I am going to use to adhere this to my cover. All right, so I am just going to come in and add my little dots of glue. I'm not coating the entire thing, but I'm getting, trying to make sure that every letter has a few dots on it of glue. Especially down there where it's kind of a little bit on its own. If you pulled part of your R off, I want you to glue everything on and then see if you can glue your are. I want to look at something. I wonder if, hang on, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put that right about there. All right, so it sits right underneath that camera. I'll press down all the parts. So if part of your little R broke off when you were trying to peel that off, see if you can glue that piece together. I don't know what'll happen. I don't know if it'll work or not. If it doesn't, email me and we'll see what we can figure out. What I wanted to see here is, it's funny, I was in my suitcase from my trip this weekend, which I still haven't unpacked, quite a few times today, and I totally ripped one of my nails. So it's the thumbnail that I would try to use to pull this off. I'm trying to see. Oh, no, that one is just like that. All right, there's nothing on the front for me to pull off. But if yours is brown, then you definitely want to pull off that coating, okay? So there we go. There is our cover of our insert all ready to go. The reason I said that you may want to wait for that, as you are working inside and as you are stamping, I think what I did, I want to say that I probably took my slipcover off as I was working because that bumpy lumpiness may get in my way when I'm trying to do some of my stamping. All right, so if you waited to do that, you could still do that to your slipcover, but don't adhere your slipcover yet. And if you didn't wait, then just pull it off. Or you could just kind of live on the edge and see how it works. All right, so let's talk about the inside cover. I just did a little bit of decorating on the inside cover. I used a couple of our die cut pieces. I used this big guy right there. I used the big ampersand. It's not the ampersand from the card. I'm not making you do any fussy cutting. Okay, it's not the ampersand from the card. You should have a die cut from your main pack of die cuts, the Print Shop die cuts. You should have an ampersand. There we go. And then I used a little piece that says embrace your uniqueness. All right, so right down there, embrace your uniqueness. That is coming from this piece. That is one single piece that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces that we can cut apart and use individually. That's what I did here. I used embrace your uniqueness. So if you wanted to cut that apart with your scissors or your trimmer, you could do so. I'll just cut this one for now. And I actually did my inside cover at the very end. I decorated everything else first. I did every monthly spread and then kind of worked with what I had left to do that. So I'll go ahead and adhere this. I say that because you may go, oh, you know what? Maybe I want to wait. Maybe that's something that I want to use later. So maybe I want to wait. But I did not use it, so I'm using it here. There we go. And then my little ampersand. I think I will grab my glue stick. Hi, Kristen from Indiana. Oh, Deborah, I'm just so glad you're okay. That's so scary. And when you're in a situation like that, oh my gosh, there's nothing you can do. Even if you see it coming, like you just know there's nothing you can do. Hi, Under the Willow Tree from Dayton. All right, and that guy will go, I don't know, it looks like it goes about right there. Looks like there's a question. Oh, Jill, that's a great tip. Jill said she kept the acrylic piece flat on her tabletop or her work surface and peeled the linings up. Less risk of it bending and breaking. I love that. I love it, love it, love it. Deborah said, aren't there little dots to punch out at the top of the piece? Yes, I was being lazy. There are little dots. So I can, well, I can pick them out. Yes, there are little dots. They look better with them picked out. Just because it gives a little bit of contrast. All right, and then my embrace your new uniqueness. So I'll use just a little bit of a glue pen there as well. All righty. That kind of tucked under that part of the ampersand, and it just kind of went right there. All righty. Next up, we are going to work on this first page. And you may watch or you may do it with me. We're going to create a waterfall. So a waterfall, we will use our washi. And we will use 3 of our 3x4 cards. So I'm going to grab those cards and then I'll show you what it looks like and then we'll make it. So we are grabbing the card that says focus on the good. We're grabbing the card that says happening today. And we're grabbing the card that says live in wonder. So happening today, live in wonder, and focus on the good. All right, let me put this off to the side for a sec. And I have outlined. Oh, I know what I could do. So you can hardly see that. On these dark cards, it's going to be hard to see that outline. So, okay, let's see if it's in my bag of tricks from this weekend. I'm looking for my, oh, there it is. My Posca paint pen. I have a little white paint pen here that I am going to use. And it will, oh, hang on. I needed to get that paint kind of flowing again. It is a paint pen, so, ooh, hang on. Let me just get a little bit of that excess off. All right, now it's really going, oh, no, it's still too wet. Still too wet. I need something, hang on. I need something that will soak up a little bit more. Oops. Okay, hang on, friends. Now I think it'll work. Let's see. Let's see. There we go. I just had to play with it a little bit. Every once in a while, you need to get that ink flowing again because it's a paint pen. There's very much liquid paint in there. But now you can, my outline stands out a little bit more on that card. And I will do that same thing, I think, here too. Because, you know, I like to outline. And when it's hard to see the black, then come in with a white. Okay. I will be able to see it here. I just stored that. Yes. I could wrap a paper towel around it. I do not have a paper towel in here with me. I think you were talking to me. All right. And that guy can have its regular black on it. I know. Be careful with the paint pen. I know, right? It'd be funny. Well, yeah, I'd be the one to do it, wouldn't I? Okay, so now what we're going to do, we are going to create a waterfall. A waterfall, I have 3 cards. I am taking the top card and I am creating what's called a tip in. I have put washi partially on the insert page, partially on the card. I lift that up, partially on the card, partially on the insert page. Same thing with the next one, partially on the insert page, partially on the card, partially on the card, partially on the, and then going forward. So I make a little waterfall there. I will start with this guy. I'm going to grab my little ruler for a second, and I need to, that needs to be 3, right? So I can at 3, right here, I am going to use the edge of my ruler to get a nice straight cut on that. And looks like I did right about that top line. Right about that top line. So I want that piece of washi to be partially on the insert, the page, and partially on the card. Okay, I lift up, and I want to do the same thing. So I will not do all 3, just because that'll take a little while to do, but I'm kind of showing you the process, and then later you could finish that process if you'd like. Okay, just using that edge, that straight edge, to get a nice clean tear or cut. And then partially on the card, the back of the card, and partially on, partially on the page. All right. So there we go. There is my top layer. And I would continue all the way down. Generally what I do is I do the top one first, then I'd like to do the bottom one next, and then I take the middle one and I kind of split the difference, but split the difference between the two, like that. And then I know where to put that second one. You can decide how far apart you want them to be, how close together you want them to be. But this is a good place to add additional journaling if you want, to put more photos, to put more memorabilia, or whatever you want to put. Doing a waterfall technique like that and tipping cards in just gives you more surface. Since we're kind of working in a small surface area, it just gives you more surface to work with. When you are ready to finish that up, I added a couple of stickers. I added the Good Days word strip sticker and added This Happened word strip stickers just to kind of pull that blue down to the bottom of the page. Alrighty, so now that we have done that, we are ready to, just going to get those out of the way. We're ready to do January, okay? So this process is what I do every month. Now, I always get questions about this because we have a full project kit, right? You guys have a full insert. I think what most of you guys do after I've talked with you is you use this insert. I need to put that back just because I removed it to do that. You will most likely use this insert for each of your About Last Month's spreads, okay? For every month. I don't know what happened to that one I had earlier. Well, like this, right? So I have January, I have February, I have March, I will use this. Or some of you will use one insert for the whole year. That is not what I do. The reason that that's not what I do is I still have Saturdays. I still have the Saturdays, and once a month we do About Last Month on a Saturday. So my version of About Last Month just comes into my regular Traveler's Notebook insert. So I just use my Traveler's Notebook. I'm making my list, and then when About Last Month falls in, I do About Last Month. So that's just me. That's the way I do it because that works better for me having to kind of do that during our Saturday sessions. But I think most of you that purchase the kit kind of keep everything all in that same notebook. All right, so now we'll get January ready to go. That will be my first spread. There's my little pencil mark that says January. Let's look at January and then we will make it. So January, 2-page spread. I have used the January stamp plus 2 other stamps up in the upper left, and then added some decoration. And then along the right, I created a pocket. So we'll do January together, or I'm actually going to do my About Last Month. I have my photos printed and everything. As you're looking at the instructions, just one quick thing, you will notice that every month has photos. I did not travel to the future. I used my photos from 2022, just so you kind of have examples to look at. All right. Just looking at my notes. All right. So I'm going to grab my stamp set. This is the 2023 About Last Month stamp set. And you have the 12 months of the year. You have 3 additional stamps. One that says 2023, one that says About Last Month, and another one based on a request that I had from a couple people, one that says Month in Review. Now, I always call mine About Last Month, but some of you said, man, I don't really like that. Do you think you could come up with something that'd be a little bit more generic? So I did, Month in Review. Those 3 stamps, or those 3 types of stamps, are meant to be used together. So I'm going to pull January. And I am going to pull, for me, I'm going to pull About Last Month. And I'm going to pull the year 2023. And I will move this off to the side. There are 2 ways that you can do your stamping each month. You could set each stamp up on the same stamping block. Like I could put this here. I could put 2023 right there. And I could put About Last Month right there. That's how I designed the grid, not the grid, because it's not a grid this time, but that's how I designed that to work. So when we look at January, you have a line under January. You will always have a line either below or above, depending on the letters and where a descender falls. So this is a descender. That bottom part of the J is a descender. It descends below the line, the imaginary line. An ascender would be something like a D in December. So it extends above the imaginary line. So most of the stamps have a line below. There are a couple of stamps that have the line above, and that was not by mistake, it was on purpose. September has the line above. The reason September has the line above is the P has a descender at the end. So really your about last month doesn't fit, or it would fit all the way over here, but then the line would get in the way and that would be here. So there are a couple of letters where, or a couple of words where you have the line above instead of below. All right. So like I said, you could line everything up like that on your stamping block and stamp all at once. That's not how I do it. And I'm going to talk about why. Number one, in January, you can see I use two different colors. So I used one color for Jan and 2023, and I used another color for about last month. If I put them all in the same block, it's going to be really difficult for me to get multiple colors. So that is one reason I do that. In some cases, I use three different colors. So February, I have red and pink and black. So it makes it really hard. I have to do a lot of masking if I'm trying to stamp all of those on the same stamping block at once. So that's one reason why I don't line them all up on the same block that way. But the other reason is I like to decide how tight I want my stamps to sit next to each other. So I like my 2023 to be in pretty close. And I like my about last month to be pretty close to the line. If I am lining all of my stamps up on the same block, I can't get as close as I want because I have the rubber, the photopolymer, the polymer, that has to be around each of those stamps. So it kind of doesn't let me get as close as I want to get. So just my personal preference, but I do not line all three up on the same stamping block. Generally, I will use three different stamping blocks, okay? So I have different size stamping blocks here. There's one, and there's one for my 2023. Now, lots of you have this set. You could just as easily use the nested set here, all right, because you have 4 different sizes. So if you were using this set, I'd probably put the month on this one, put about last month on this one, and put the 2023 on this one. That way I'm not having to like pull stamps on and off. Now, if you just have one stamping block, then that's okay. You'll just stamp once, remove the stamp, clean it, then remove the stamp, then put the new stamp on and so forth. So whatever you're using for blocks, whether you have one or whether you have several, you just need to make sure that you have one that is about, I think, 3 inches long, because that is about, I think the longest one is about 3 inches long. So you need a block that's at least 3 inches long to fit the longest of the month stamp. All right, so I know I am going to stamp here. I'm not ready to stamp yet, okay? I need to do something first. In the instructions, if you go to the page 6, I have a whole list of stamping techniques that I have learned along the way. I'm not an expert. I am not a stamping expert. I don't claim to be a stamping expert. I claim to be someone that is, I don't know, within the last 2 years, really started to use and like stamps. And these are some of the things that I have found that have made my life easier when I'm stamping. So we're going to talk about those as we go. That first one I already talked about. I said stamp each stamp separately versus all together, even if you're using the same ink. Use separate blocks for 2023 and about last month, so you don't have to unload and reload every time. What I mean by that, if right now or over the course of the next week or what have you, if you decide that you're getting all of your pages set up, you're doing all of your stamping, I would do this. Keep 2023 on one block and about last month on the other block, and then you're just going to have those loaded all the time. Obviously, you'll need to come back in and reload your month every time, but you have those all ready to go. You don't have to keep loading and unloading. That's what I mean by that one. Anytime you're doing repetitive stamping like that, if you can keep your stamps on those blocks, it just makes your process a lot easier. As you are getting ready to stamp, your stamps are brand new, right? They came brand new in a package. You should always prime your stamps before you use them. Okay, I'm going to say that again. You should always prime your stamps before you use them. A couple of reasons why. Photopolymer stamps, that's what these are. That's what most stamps that look like this, that are clear, that don't come on their own block, most stamps are photopolymer. They have a very thin coating on the back, like microscopic. You can't see it. But if you ink up your stamp and stamp right away on your project, you're probably not going to like the way that it looks, because that thin coating is going to affect how your ink sits on the stamp. So an example of that. I'm a very visual person, so if I can show you what I mean, sometimes it makes a lot more sense. Hang on. We're almost there. Here's my numbers. All right. I love it. TK said, end of the workday, switch to watch and smile mode. You guys, absolutely. And that's the beauty of this. You can come back and watch it at any time, especially as it gets later and we start talking about stamping. I know some of you want to start fresh. So here's a perfect example of why you want to prime your stamps first. Look at the 5s. I have 4 different 5s that I have stamped. And this is actually when I was working on a list. So I first stamped that first 5, and I did not prime it first. Do you see in that stamp there are places where the ink didn't really stick, right? I don't know. I'm trying to move that up a little closer to make sure you can see that. So all I did was I inked my stamp and went right on my paper. So I've got some splotches. Did the same thing again, re-inked and inked again. Look it, I have splotches now in a different place. Re-inked and inked again, and look it, I have more splotches everywhere. The 4th time, excuse my writing over that, but the 4th time, my 5 looks really good, okay? So it took me 4 tries before basically that microscopic layer was gone. I can prime my stamp by stamping a bunch of times. Eventually, it will be gone and it will look good, but that's going to take a little bit longer. So you can prime your stamp by stamping a bunch of times, not on your project, on a scratch paper, or you can prime another way. You can prime using a rubber eraser. So that's what this is, just a plain white rubber eraser. I only use this for priming my stamps. I don't also use this for erasing my pencil marks. I want to keep this nice and clean. When I am priming my stamp, I just take my little eraser and I just kind of erase over the top. Now, I'm not erasing super hard. I don't want to get, I don't want to have big crumbles of my eraser coming off, but I want to kind of get across that entire surface. Now, some people say you can take it and rub it across your jeans or your pants or on a towel. I think it's easier. I do it with an eraser. All right, so then I want to kind of get that all nice and clean. I'm going to get that all nice and clean. And I'm going to ink it up. I used, really 12. I used 12 different colors of stamping ink throughout my project for the whole year. And I hopefully made it very clear that that was me. That does not have to be you. Really, you could pick one color, and yes, black is a color. You could use one color and use that same color throughout the entire year. I used 12, one of those being black. On the, on page, that would be page, I'm so sorry that those don't have numbers. On page 7, your last page. Second half, so this is your supply list. It told you all the things to have ready for class. The second half of the list, I have listed here the additional colors that I used. These were also on my website with the link that came in your email. Also, you have that link right there. So I used these 11 Distress Oxides. And on this little part of your instructions, I also tell you which months I used the colors. So if you're saying, I don't know, 12 kind of seems like a lot, maybe I'll use 4. You could look at this list and go, you know what? I see she only used Abandoned Coral in July. Maybe I won't use that one. Or she only used Shabby Shutters in June. Maybe I won't use that one. She only used Uncharted Mariner in July. You can see I used Fossilized Amber quite a bit. April, May, June, August, October, November. So I used that one 6 times. So if you are looking at the different ink colors that I use, that's why I put them together here so you could kind of get a feel for what months I used what colors. All right, so I used for January, I used Salvaged Patina. These are all of the ink colors that I used. Okay, so I used Salvaged Patina. I'm going to grab that one, put this off to the side, and I'm going to not stamp in here yet. Even though I've primed, I never, ever, ever want to stamp right off the bat in my project. This is probably the biggest tip that I can give you for successful stamping. One of them. Always, always, always test stamp first, because there are a couple of things that can happen. Number one, maybe that looks straight, but maybe it's not really straight. Number two, maybe I still have a few of those little crumbles, the eraser crumbles on there. Deborah said, Lael, I did get eraser crumbles when I primed mine. How do I get rid of those? Deborah, you could try to rub them off if they're still there with your fingers. You could get a damp paper towel, but just barely damp. You could get a baby wipe as long as it's alcohol free and rub them off. In the case of either the baby wipe or the damp paper towel or a stamp chamois, some people use a stamp chamois, you want to make sure before you apply your ink that that is really dry. Because if that's wet at all, it is going to affect your stamped impression. Your ink is going to pull a little bit. But that's why we play. That's why we always test first. If you ever see me on a Saturday doing any kind of stamping, I always pull out this book because this is where I just do my test stamping. You can see this I used when I was designing my project, that little spread. All right, so another tip. When you are applying your ink, I prefer to apply the ink to the stamp. I mean, like this, my ink I am applying to the stamp as opposed to applying my stamp to the ink. I feel like I have a lot more control when I am applying my ink to the stamp. I also feel like I can limit the amount of ink that I get on my stamping block. So I want to get that nice and inked up, and then right away I want to stamp. All right, I don't want to let the ink dry. If the ink dries, then it's going to start to dry and it won't work as well. I won't get as nice of an impression. So I'm doing my test stamp here. I'm giving nice, solid, even pressure. When you're stamping, you don't want to be timid. If you're timid, that's generally when I accidentally drop my stamping block, or I don't get a nice, even impression. So you want to go in with nice, even pressure, press down. I always stamp when I am standing up because I have gravity is, I don't know how to say this the right way, but if I'm standing, I can get a better, I get better pressure. I don't know how to say that the right way, but I get better pressure. The other thing is when you're stamping, you want to stamp on a hard surface. Don't stamp on like a card table. Or sometimes if you go to a crop, you know how they have those tables with the folding legs? That is not a really hard surface. It has some give to it. You don't want to have any give, because if I'm pressing and I'm pressing down and my surface is also giving and pressing down with me, I'm not going to get a good impression. So if you, wherever you do your, actually, let me put the lid back on that. And normally I wouldn't leave that there that long. I'm just talking. Normally, wherever it is that you do your work, your crafting, if you have a sitting desk, I would recommend you stand to do your stamping. It may be a little bit easier if you take it into the kitchen or the bathroom, because that's counter height, and it may be a little bit easier for you to stamp at counter height than, desk height. All right. Better leverage. Thank you, Alicia. That's exactly the word I was looking. It's the Stamp Playing Book. It's a traveler's notebook. It's a blank, I'm sorry, not traveler's notebook. It's a blank composition notebook. It's a lay flat, right? So it lays flat. Just one that I had. All right, so normally I wouldn't leave it there that long, but there we go. So that actually looks really nice. I have a nice impression. It is straight. Everything looks good. What I'm looking for, there's a couple more things I'm looking for. When Deborah said she still had some little of the eraser crumbles when she stamped, if you have anything on that stamp, whether it's a hair or a piece of lint or an eraser crumble, whatever it is, that is going to affect your stamped impression because it's going to prevent the ink, from going on the paper because that's in the way. That's another reason why you always want to test to make sure you don't have hiccups, a little spare hair or lint or eraser crumble or whatever. If I did that and there was a space in my stamped impression, I'd go, uh-oh. And if I could see that there was a hair there, a little piece of lint, I might just grab my tweezers and pick it off. Or I might go, you know what? I just need to clean it. I'm going to get out my damp paper towel or my baby wipe or whatever it is. I'll clean it, let it dry, and then start again. If I am doing a lot of stamping and I need to be cleaning, sometimes I'll have a little fan and I can just like put that stamp in front of a little fan to make sure it's fully dry. Even after I've done all of that and I've inked up again, especially if I've wet it, I would want to test my stamp again because I want to make sure that nothing happened along the way. So priming, super important. And then also test stamping, also super important. All right, next up. One of the things that I had listed in the supply list was a pencil board. Heather, okay, look it. Heather said you can also prime your stamps by just rubbing them on the back of your hand. So Heather, I haven't tried that before. If you rub on the back of your hand, I would assume then you also want to then clean that in case you have like oils or something on your hand. Do you normally clean after you rub on your hand? That would also be for a brand new or clean, right, stamp. You don't want to do that or else you're going to have ink on your hand. All right. So when you're stamping in a book like this, I can't take the page out. If I can take the page out, then I have a nice flat surface to stamp on, and that's good. But I can't take the page out. My pages are all connected, right? So I need to give myself a nice flat surface to stamp on. And that is where a pencil board comes into play. So let's talk pencil boards for a minute. A pencil board is nothing more than a flat surface that you can slide under your page so you're not dealing with what was here. Especially as you start to get later and later and later in your insert. Maybe we're here. Maybe we're stamping for July. Well, I've had a lot that's happened before July. I might have some die cuts that were up here or over here that's going to start to maybe affect my flatness of where I want to stamp. So your pencil board will really help set you up for success having a flat surface. Couple different things that you could use for pencil board. I have pencil boards. My pencil boards are 1/8 inch clear acrylic, rounded corners. So when you slide that under your page for stamping, you're not accidentally like poking a hole or tearing a hole in your page. You also have the width is 5 inches, so it's wide enough for your page. The height is 8 inches, so it's tall enough. It's not going to kind of drop down anywhere. But the other thing you'll notice are the little grid marks. So the grid marks are there. You could also use this as a stamping block if you wanted to, especially for like a larger stamp. Like if you have my library card stamp is a pretty big stamp. You could use this as a stamping block and then you have those little grids to line up. One last thing I'll say about I don't think I have a plain one. I didn't bring a plain one up with me. About my pencil boards. They are etched. So all of that is etched into the back. And when you get it, the etching is white. Because when you etch into clear acrylic, then you get white. I paint mine. So you can see how mine is navy. This particular one is navy. I paint them so it makes it really easy to see the little grid marks. I just use plain acrylic paint. And the etchings on the back, so plain acrylic paint on the back, paint it, wipe it off with a dry paper towel, and then that paint deposits in all those little etched areas and not on the flat surface. So pencil board you can buy. This was something, a pencil board that somebody made me. So I used this for a long time before I made my own. This was from Nancy Golison. This is roughly the same size, right? It is about 5 inches wide, a little bit shorter than 8, but this is just really thick chipboard. So she took a really thick piece of chipboard, she covered it with pattern paper, rounded the edges, inked it up, and then that was just a really pretty pencil board that I used for a long time until I started making my own. It can be something as simple, you guys. This is a placemat from IKEA. Okay, it is a placemat from IKEA. It is not as thick as those other 2 pencil boards that I showed you, but this is better than nothing. Now, I would not use something this size. I would cut this down. So I would cut this down probably to a 5 by 8, 5 by 8 size so that it's a little bit more usable. In last year's 2022 year in review, because I didn't have a pencil board then, we spent quite a bit of time talking about pencil boards and the different things that you could use to create your own pencil board. We even talked about like going to the dollar store. Dollar store has placemats like this. Go to the dollar store, cut up a placemat. Sometimes they have really thin cutting boards that you could use. Really just something that's a little bit thicker. Okay, a little bit thicker. That you can use to slide under whatever you want to stamp on. All right, so I'm going to use my pencil board. I will slide that underneath there, so I have a nice flat surface. As I was stamping my pages, I kind of tried to stay about the same space down on all of my pages. So, looks like I stamped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that bottom line was about 5 lines down. So I'll take my little pencil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll just make that little mark right there just so I have that for reference. I need to ink this up again. I stamped once with it and now it's really dry, right? So I need to ink that up again. And we'll go ahead and do that. Again, I'm applying my ink to the stamp as opposed to stamp to the ink. Get that all nice and juicy. I prefer to use Distress Oxides. That's just my personal preference. Even as opposed to a Distress ink. I like the pigment based. I feel like it gives me a nice juicy color. So that's what I use. But you can use whatever inks you want, whether you have Distress inks or oxides or what have you. All right, so I am going to line that up. And I am being very intentional, right? I am standing, I'm on a hard surface, and I am pressing down evenly to make sure that I get a nice stamped impression. There we go. So I have a few little splotches. So there's a couple things I can do when that happens. Number one, I could just leave it, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you want it to be full, you could take a Q-tip, and this is one of the things that I suggested if you were stamping in color, that you had a little Q-tip. I could take I think probably why that happened, that sat for a long time. So part of the ink was dry, and I can see that kind of up here. You see a little bit more of the ink is there where I didn't quite have it. So probably in hindsight, I probably should have cleaned that, let it dry before I stamped it in, but that's all right. So I'm taking a little bit of a Q-tip, right? And I can get a little bit of ink on there. And I can come in and just kind of paint that in. All right, so I'm just painting that in. If I'm using Distress Oxides and I happen to have the watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz, I could, if I have, in this case, the Salvage Patina, I could use a pencil, that same pencil, and cover it in. You notice I still have my pencil board under there. I still want my pencil board to be under there because, for the same reason, I want that flat surface. All right, so there you go. I've kind of filled that in. Now, just this last week, Vicki said the Q-tip tip is genius. I wish I could take credit. I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, we were stamping in one of my Saturdays and it wasn't a full impression. I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? And someone popped in the chat and said, hey, if you use a Q-tip, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's genius. Here's another idea. And someone, usually what I'll do, I will break those in half. Like that one I don't want anymore, but this side is still good. So I'll just throw that back in my drawer. Someone emailed me this week and said, you know, if you have a very, very, very fine paintbrush, fine tip paintbrush, and not a cheap one, not like the ones you get at the dollar store, like $3,800 for $1. You don't want those. You want a nice quality, fine tip paintbrush. You can get that paintbrush in your ink and then kind of paint it in. Now, I haven't added any water. I haven't tried this yet. I ordered some fine tip paintbrushes so I could try it. I haven't tried it yet, but theoretically, I don't think you'd want to get it wet because you really don't want any part of your paper wet, but kind of get your ink on that really fine paintbrush and then you could paint in a little spot. So that's another thought. All right, so there we go. There is January. Now it looks like I did 2023 with the same color. Now I can already see I did not get that on there straight. I am not going to prime that because I have already primed it. I've used it before. I don't need to prime it. But just because I'm not priming it doesn't mean I'm not going to test it. I always test first. Let's see. Alicia said the oils, we're back to the rubbing it on your hand. The oils are what takes the manufacturer coating off the stamp so you can get a clear impression. Yes, but then my question still, we'll have to play with it, is once you do that, you have the oils from your hand. I know the oils got the coating off, but then are the oils going to affect the ink? So I'm going to have oils on my stamp and then ink. Is that going to affect it? I'll play with it. I won't do it now, but I'll play with it just to see. Deborah said that would be a good reason to stamp all the months at once at the beginning. You certainly could. You could go through and stamp all your months at once if you wanted. Nope. Okay, Heather said it's all good. Straight to ink and go. I'm going to try it. I'm going to play. Kelly said I primed my stamps with Versamark, added it to the stamp, then rubbed hand over it. Okay. And Alicia, yeah, they don't, especially if you test stamp first. That makes sense, right? Because I say, oopsie, I say we should always test stamp first. So I guess if it affected it, we would know. All right, so there we go. Ah! Whoops. If I have test stamped in my book, now I can come in the same place. Maybe I'm testing out a color and I'm like, ooh, do I like that same color there? Or do I want to use a different color there? So doing my test stamp here lets me not only make sure I get a nice, good stamped impression, but it also lets me kind of play with different things. And that's what I did a lot here. There were some times where I tried different colors and I'm like, do I put that there? Would I rather do this? Do I like the way that looks or whatever? Like here's an example. Look it, I did 2023 in Shabby Shutters and then stamped it again in Fossilized Amber and went, oh, nope, I like Fossilized Amber instead of Shabby Shutters. But I could see that right next to each other. I still have my pencil board right there, so I'm coming back in again, and I will stamp, or excuse me, ink to stamp instead of stamp to ink. Again, just gives me more control. That's bigger than this, so I reduce the chance of me kind of bobbling like this, like I did at the beginning. All right, and there we go, 2023. Okay, looking good. Now I just need to do about last month. And you could use month in review or about last month, up to you. So I used a different color for that. I used Evergreen Bell. Evergreen Bell. I did not match the colors. My friend Vicki Booten matched the colors. It's her collection. So all I did was I remembered I'd been watching one of her lives, or she put it on Facebook. I didn't remember. And I remember that she had matched the colors. So she does that for all of her collections. She goes to the work of testing all the colors and then telling us, you guys, me, whoever, what colors match the best. So I went back to that and said, oh, look it. And then I played with them all and thought, yep, I like those. Those are the ones I'm going to use. I think that maybe there was a couple that she used that I didn't use, but all right. So again, going back to this, my example here, I can come in with that color and make sure I like it. About last month, looks pretty good. Going back to, again, the reason why I stamp each separately, I can get as close to that upper line as I want, and I can get as close to the end of the letter as I want with each of those stamps placed separately. So that's what I like to do. All righty. Now we will get that guy stamped. I still have my pencil board underneath, right? Still have my pencil board underneath. And I am going to put that right there. Now, when I talk to a lot of people about stamping, I hear, oh, look what I did. Do you see that right there? When I was inking, got a little bit of ink on my stamping block. So, good idea before you stamp to check your stamping block to make sure that you don't have ink on it, and also check your fingers to make sure you don't have ink, because you want to try to reduce the amount of ink that is going where you don't want it on your project. But that's okay. It'll be fine, because that just happened to work out really well. Because look at what I did on mine. I ended up, well, I'll move my thing so that'll cover it up. Let's talk about what happens when that doesn't work and you've done it in your project. So let's say I totally accidentally got my January crooked, or one of them was totally blurry, or it was only half stamped, what have you. Don't cry. Number one rule, don't cry. Don't feel like you have to start over. There are a couple of things you can do. Number one, you could just take some white cardstock and adhere it. Do your stamping on the white cardstock and adhere it right there, okay? Or you could take a full piece of white cardstock that would fit the whole page, do your stamping there, do your entire list there, and adhere it. In this case, where I got a little bit of that, I will just bring one of these guys up a little bit higher, and you will never even see. When I make my list there, probably wouldn't see it either, but usually you can put something over it, restamp, do something. So I try to say, don't try to get too nervous, but all those tips that we talked about so far, the priming, the testing, the inking one way versus the other, making sure your hands are clean, all of that sets you up for success of hopefully getting a pretty good stamp impression. All right, I know that's a lot to talk about, you guys, but I like to cover all of those bases because stamping is very much an integral part of this process, right? I mean, you're basically stamping on all of your spreads. Let's see what else I had to say here. Practice, don't be in a hurry. Don't rock it. We'll talk about some layering, so we'll cover that in a sec. If stamping the same stamps on multiple pages like we did here, kind of always keep in mind that 5 rows down if you want. We talked about if you make a mistake. One of the other things that you can do if you make a mistake, you could bring in a white gel pen. So sometimes you see me use this on a Saturday where it usually comes into play more when I'm writing too fast and I misspell a word. I will come in with my white gel pen and I will write. Yellow's probably not a really good one to do it with, but yeah, no, that's going to show through too much. Let me see. I will write a word. Oops. I can come in with my white gel pen. This is not the paint pen I'm coming in with. This is a gel pen. Now it wants to stop flowing. Of course it does. When I want to use it. I wonder if it's all dried out. Okay, well, that's not going to work. Let me try this one. All right, so that's a finer tip. So I'm going to have to come over that probably a couple times. But do you see how that S is starting? I'll show you. I'll bring it up closer. See how that S is starting to fade into the background a little bit? Okay. So this is a 05. This is a 10. I generally, when I do that, prefer to use the 10 because it covers up more. But I think this guy may have bit the dust. I think it might be time for a new one because it doesn't want to write for me at all. Anyhow, your white gel pen sometimes can help with that too. TK. Okay, so here's a thought. TK said she's a horrible luck with gel pens not working. So let's talk about a couple things. You may, I don't know if you could see this up here, but I always have my gel pens stored upside down. Okay, so you want to store them upside down. so that the ink is always flowing into the tip. So it tries to kind of stay, I know this is a bad word, not bad word, but some people don't like this word, moist. You try to keep it like lubricated, so the ink is always there. So that is a really good tip, is to store it upside down. Not all white pens are created equal. Generally speaking, and I've played with a lot of them, not the paint pen because it's totally different, but the jelly rolls. The jelly rolls work really well. There's something about the gel in a jelly roll versus like the Uniball Signo that seems to work a little better. So the right pen and then storing it upside down. But that one, I think that's just because that one is probably done. The other thing is that eventually it will dry out. So it just may be, if you don't use your white pen often, it could just be dried out and it's out of ink. All right, let's go back to where we are. I just pulled out the pencil board. I don't need the pencil board there anymore. I always outline my pages. You'll notice, kind of like the ketchup bottle, I store a lot of my things upside down. My glue, so the glue's always there. My glue pen, that Sharpie I had upside down. They say that if you store your pens upside down, for that same reason that I mentioned before, then the ink is always flowing. All right, so do my little outlining here. All right, so I used washi on this page. As you start working on each month, you will have a little box below the month. TK, what model of Sharpie do I use? It is the one that I sell on my website. It is a super, super, super fine tip, felt tip Sharpie pen. I probably used these for 15 years, and it's what I use for my outlining. It's also what I use when I make my list. I just like the way that it writes, and it's pretty fine tip, which I like. So below each month, you're going to always have the same information. So on January, it's telling me for January, I have a 4x6 photo in a pocket. That's what's happening over here. For February, I have a 5x7 photo. For March, I have some photo strips that I've created. For April, I have a 4x6 photo. So those are just examples. I've showed you examples of different types and sizes of photos that you can use, but you'll always see that for each month. Then below that, you'll have inks. For each month, it will tell you which inks I use. So for January, I use Salvage Patina and Evergreen Bound. Die cuts. It will tell you which die cuts I used for the month. I used Snowflakes. I used Remember. I used Record, backside, so we see the green. And I used the Snowman. Stickers. It will tell you which stickers I used. For the pocket, it will give you the instructions on how to create the pocket. And then it will tell you if I used washi. So for example, here it says washi left page. All that is there because we'll do January together, but we're not going to do February and March and April because those months haven't happened yet. You may decide to do a little bit of stamping all up front and then do the decorating as your kind of each month happens and you do each month. But that's why I have all of that information there. So when you're ready to work on that month, you will have it. All right, so let's do our pocket. I need a 3 3¾ by 12 piece from the bottom of the typeset paper. We have not used this yet. This is the typeset paper. That's what I meant. So I want a piece that is 3 3/4 by 12 from the bottom. So 3 3/4 tall by 12 inches wide. So let's go ahead and get our trimmer out. I think someone had asked if we would be doing a class every month for January, for February, for March. We will not be doing that. We'll do January together, and then we'll talk through the rest of the months. You'll have in your instructions the rest of the months. I'll be showing you the rest of the months as we go, but we won't do a separate class each month because it will be, once we kind of get the basics down, it'll be super easy. All right, so we need this to be 3 3/4 by 12 from the bottom. So that's 3 3/4 tall by 12. And my pocket needs to be 5 inches wide because that is the width of my insert. 5 inches wide. And then I want the product strip to also be 5 inches. So I used TK. I know you guys, Deborah's no, oh, Deborah. Deborah says, sorry, y'all, I'm crashing. And I know, Deborah, in this case, you mean figuratively and not literally, because you literally crashed earlier. So yes, you guys, I know as it gets late, don't feel like you have to say goodbye. If you want to sign off, absolutely. But especially those of you that are East Coast, I know it's getting late because it's 10 o'clock your time. Hi, Marie. And Marie is Vegas or Henderson, right? So Marie's actually an hour earlier than us. All right. So I need this little piece to be 5 inches. Those of you that are signing off, obviously you can come back and finish watching at any time. All right. So I am making a pocket. My photo is tucking into the pocket. So when I make a pocket, remember, these were the photos from last year, just so we could have examples. We'll make this. When I make the pocket, I need to make sure that I only apply my adhesive to the left edge, the right edge, and the bottom. I want to leave that part open, or else I won't be able to put anything in the pocket. So left edge, right edge, and along the bottom. And that will go. Oh, before I do that, I would like to round this corner because the corner of my insert is rounded. And then I will put this right there along the right page. Then I'm taking this little guy, that product strip, and I'm going to apply my adhesive to that product strip. Those product strips are awesome little accents. And that will go right there along the top of my pocket, just to give it a little bit of, an accent. All right, it looks like I may have made my pocket a little bit shorter. Let me measure. 3 1/4. So my pocket here is 3 1/4. My pocket here is 3 3/4. Doesn't matter. All right, so let's grab my photo that I had printed earlier. This is actual photo from this January. These are things that happened this January. So I will tuck that in there. I will talk through the photos as I'm kind of doing my list over here. Up here, I put a word strip sticker that says happiness. So it is green. I will grab happiness. Oh my gosh, come on. There we go. And I will put that right about there. And down here, I will take one of my die cuts. The die cuts that I've used for this month are primarily coming from the pack that I had Pretty Little Studio do for me. So I'm going to put these for 1 sec on a separate little tray. And I need that little snowman with the deer, and I need a couple of the snowflakes. So you have 3 snowflakes. I did not use the dark one. I used the 2 lighter colors. There we go. All right. So I added our little snowman with the cute deer. I'll do a little bit with my tape gun and a little bit with a glue pen, just because there are some kind of small areas on that die cut that I want to make sure I get adhered. So that looks like that little guy. Look at this squirrel. Of course we had to use the squirrel. Now mine's a little bit, I made mine taller here, so looks a little bit different on this side, but that's okay. I used this, the lighter of the 2 snowflakes, and I have it partially on the insert and partially hanging off the edge. But I didn't leave it hanging off the edge. I cut it. I don't like things hanging out of the edge of my traveler's notebooks. So we'll grab that and just see where we like it. And then I will cut off that edge. Here's one other thing. If you did not, I mean, we'll talk some more about what you could do in between the spreads. If you didn't want to put anything in between the spreads, I would probably adhere them together, just so that you definitely want to skip, because when you get to your stamping here, it is going to shadow or ghost through. So like I said, if you want to do adhere them together, you could, but we'll talk in a minute about some other things that you could do. Other things that you could do in the in-betweens. All right, so now we have, oh yeah, let's grab that. If you guys are looking at time, I'd say we probably have about another hour. So I will finish January. We'll finish January together. And then we will look at the rest of the months. I'll show you some other techniques that I did throughout the project. And then we will call it a night. And then you'll be on your own. All right, so I need a couple of die cuts now from Print Shop. I need the one that says remember, and I also need the one that says record, but I'm using the back side of it. So let's see, I think, are they connected? I don't remember. I don't remember. Oh no, they're not a card. I mean, they're not a die cut, they're from a card, because there is a back side. So where are my cards? I don't know, it's been a hot minute since I designed this. All right, here we go. Okay, so I used remember and record, cutting them away from that card so that I'm kind of turning them into little die cuts. So and I probably do that with the other ones too, I'm going to say. So I'm going to cut all of these off. And then as I cut them off, I'll put them in my little tray so everything kind of stays together. The bag that your kit came in, I would just store everything, because you'll probably be working, hopefully, on this project throughout the year. So if you keep everything in the bag, or if you have some other, container that you keep things in, but so you easily keep all the pieces together. You don't even necessarily have to put all those little die cuts back in their own little container. Okay, and then the rest of it I will use my little scissors for. Monique, yes, just like I couldn't find it. Yeah, it's on a card, not die cuts. We're just making them into die cuts. So I pulled out the colors as I worked with all of these pieces, because you have lots of different colors. Oh, there we go. Good thing I'm getting my nails done tomorrow. Oh yes. All the different pieces, all the different colors. As I was designing the project, I set aside, before I started doing any designing, I took out all the die cuts and started like putting them into piles of colors that I thought would go together for specific months. So that's what we end up with. All right, so record, we're using the opposite side, and remember, I need to cut remember too. Nikki's crashing too. Good thing I'm not crashing. I'll crash when I'm done. Yeah, like I said, we probably have another hour or so. Usually about 3 hours is what we end up at. But you can come back and watch whenever you need or want. All right, and these two, of course, get outlined, because they'd be so lonely if they weren't outlined like their friends. Notice how I'm rotating? Instead of trying to rotate my arm and hand all the way around, rotate the piece. So much easier that way. There we go. And again, the back side is the one, I used the one that says record. All right. So now let's get strategic. Let's have some strategy going on here. This guy, when I put mine down a little bit lower, right? You see how I put those down a little bit lower before I start my list? But I'm going to be strategic and put that guy right there so it kind of covers up that little ink that I got on there. grab a sticker. Even if you end up with an ink splotch somewhere that you really don't want it, grab a sticker, grab something from your stash, put something over it, or just, you know, run with it. It's art, right? There we go. And then right on top of that one, I did the sticker that says so far so good. It's January, so far so good, right? So far so good. And it is blue down here at the bottom. If you're having trouble getting the stickers off, just kind of peel the sheet and they will peel right off. So far so good. All right, and then I did some more over here. Hey there, and it's all good. So hey there, this little guy down at the bottom. Just to pull in some color, because it's kind of, there's a lot going on. And it's all good. And I pulled the colors for this one all based on what was in the snowman's hat. Right? So there was blue and green in the snowman's hat. So we just make it all work. We pulled in the blue and green from over here. We pulled in the evergreen bough and the Salvage Patina inks. All right, then we have our little other snowflake. So our other little snowflake will just kind of go right there. Now, I don't know, you guys would have to tell me, but I think most people work on a month after it happens. I don't think that they work on it. I don't know, you guys tell me. Maybe you do. Maybe you get all of your things going first and then you do your like months and everything. You do your stamping and then work on it after the fact. I don't know. All right, so one more sticker. No worries. No worries. That one, so these are all sayings that I mean, they're not, you know, like unique to me, but all sayings that I came up with because they're all just kind of generic. They're just all good, you know, to have as you're documenting. No worries, I have said for years. I taught a number of years ago in Australia. Oh my gosh, I worked for Scenic Route back then, so it's been a really long time. But I taught some classes in Australia and they say no worries there a lot. So no worries is very much a part of my vocabulary. Now I can't find my washi. So where would the washi be? Because I added a little strip of date washi along the bottom. Where are you? Oh, there it is, under my stamps. Let's see, Carrie said, it's all good. I got my R fixed by putting the 2023 lettering down first glued and then carefully pulled off the paper. So it's okay. Good, Carrie, I'm glad you fixed it. If anyone else is having problems with that, just play with it. See if you can get them to glue back together. If not, just let me know. We'll see what we can do. All right, so remembering that you have a section and each section is designed to fit along the bottom of your standard wide Traveler's Notebook insert. So I am just going to a full month here. Cut that off. Cut that off. And that can go right there along the bottom just to give it a little bit of color. So I use that on some months and not on others. Sometimes I make it go all the way across the spread. Other times I don't. You can, part of the way that this was designed, and I would not do it here because this is all of January, but let's say, where is my handy dandy notebook? If I put this down, if I wanted, I could take my Sharpie, or I could take a photo signature pen and I could say August 29th, okay? So all I did was circle the month and circle the day, and then that whatever I'm doing is specific to August 29th. Alrighty, so now I am ready to make my list, and I need to make sure I'm in the correct one. This was my sample. This would be my correct one. So let's talk a little bit about how I come up with my list. And this is, I think, a super important part of the process. Every month, all throughout the month, I am keeping a note on my phone. And the note on my phone, I actually use for the whole entire year. And I do it on my phone just because I typically always have my phone with me. That's really easy. So I have it on my phone. It's just one big running note. So in January, as things happen, I just add it to the note, add it to the note, add it to the note. When I sit down, like right now, to put together my list of things that I'm writing in about last month, I look at that note. And then I'm not trying to rack my brain because I've been doing it all along throughout the entire month. I look at my note for things, and then I also look at my calendar for things because my calendar also has things on it that happen throughout the month. At the same time, all throughout the month, I'm taking photos on my phone. I take lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of photos because you can never go back, right? You may not use the photo, but if you were at the Rose Bowl in January 1st and you didn't take a photo, it's really hard to go back and get that photo, right? So take all the photos. If you don't use them, great, whatever. So when I sit down, I have my list because it's on my note, and then I have all the photos. I look at my camera roll and I see what photos that I want to use. In this example, this is a 4x6 photo. I always use the Epson PictureMate PM400 printer. That's the printer I use for all of my Traveler's Notebook stuff. And an app called the Epson Creative Print app. The Epson Creative Print app is pretty cool. It is what I used to print all of the photos. So this one, 4x6, has 1, 2, 3, 4 big ones, 3 small ones. I didn't have to have fancy Photoshop skills to do that. The February, I have a 5x7, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I left a spot there using the same printer. March, I have photo strips. That's a 5x7. All I did was cut it up into strips. April is another 4x6, just different configuration. 1, 2, 3, 4 small photos and 1 large in the center. So all different examples of different configurations, just to give you different ideas. Typically what I do in a month, in a year, is I use the same configuration for the entire year. I don't think I'm going to do that this year. I kind of had fun mixing it up a bit. This is what I did last year. I always had 8, and then I always kind of left this space open so I could decorate. But always using that printer and that app. That app has pre-configured templates. So literally all you do is you go in and you say, oh, I like that template. I want to use that one. You pull the photos in. You basically just push the photos in. And then select the size, whether it's 4x6 or 5x7, and print it out. A couple more things, just kind of tips that I have picked up along the way that make that whole process very easy. I take a lot of photos on my phone in a month. And typically, like what I did tonight, when I sit down to print my photo, I will put all of the photos that I want to use for that particular month's photo into a photo album on my phone. Now, you could do the same thing on your computer if you normally use your computer, your iPad, or whatever you do. But I have a album on my phone that I created, and it's called About Last Month. And every month I put the photos in there that I'm using. I don't delete them. I keep them in there for the whole entire year. The reason why I do that is at the end of the year, I like to do one called About Last Year. And then I have all of those photos to choose from for my one spread for the full year. So that makes it really easy. But it also makes it very handy when you are going to find all these photos. If you're just going to one photo album for January that already has those photos in it, it's really easy to pull those photos instead of every time scrolling through your camera roll through all your January photos. So hopefully that makes sense. But keeping them all together throughout the entire year, I promise at the end of the year, if you're doing like a wrap up, it makes it so easy because you're not going through your camera roll for a whole year trying to find the photos that you want to use. Yes, thank you. It's the Epson Creative Print app. Karen is getting an Epson PM400 and said, now I need you to teach a class on the app and how to use it. I know. I have been promising for a long time. I will. I'm not there yet. I will do a video It'll be pre-recorded where I show you how to use the app and some of the little tips and tricks that I have picked up and used along the way. All right, so now is when I make my list. My list, normally when I'm doing this on a Saturday, would be in my handy dandy workbook, but I'm not doing that yet. So I have it on a scratch paper, and then my drink accidentally overflowed on my scratch paper earlier. So anyhow, there we go. So I'm making my list. Oh, one more thing I need to grab. Usually when I'm making my list, I like to use bullet stamps. Okay, I like to use my bullet stamps. You can use whatever you want to make your list. If you want to use colored ink, if you want to use bullet stamps, if you want to use some of the dot markers, right? That's not a dot marker, that's a regular marker. If you want to use the dot markers in between the things on your list, let me get rid of that paper and just show you. So if you wanted, let's say, I'll show you what dot marker in case you don't know. There you go. This is just a black one. I have a couple of different sets in different colors, but a dot marker just makes your little dots for you. So if you wanted those to be your bullets in between all the things on your run-on list, the size of the dot or bullet will vary based on how hard you press down. Okay, so you could use dot markers, but I'm going to use bullet stamps. And I am going to use the Bullets and More 2. And I am going to use there's a little snowflake stamp. So I will get that little stamp. I will get my little stamping stylus. Stamping stylus is one of my one of my products. It is a cylinder that is roughly the same circumference as a pen or pencil. So you're used to that kind of feeling that in your hand. I will take the stamp and put it on the end. Same circumference and basically same length. And I think what I will do is, maybe I should use, which color? I will use Salvage Patina. How about that? I'll use that one again. And stamping stylus makes it really easy for you to stamp your little bullet stamps, because all you do is put that in there, stamp, 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 stamp. So super easy. Also, look at how nice and fine and detailed those stamps are. That is what manufacturing stamps in the USA will do it for you. All right, so here we go. There is, oh, well, actually, I probably should, but I'm not going to. All right, I'm going to start right there. I actually really should, because if I'm teaching a class, I should really use the things that I preach. I'm going to find, where is my stamping block? I mean, no, not my stamping block. Now there's so many things on my desk. Where is my pencil board? All right, here we go. So even if I'm not stamping and just writing, it also works to give me a nice clean surface or flat surface to write on. So then I just do my little thing. So let's see, we were in Pasadena. For the Rose Bowl to watch the University of Utah play. Too bad we lost. Oh well, it's too bad, so sad. Jill, yeah, the dot markers are awesome. They're really fun. I have two different sets that I carry. One is called Mild and the other one is called Mild Smoky. They are new sets that, I don't know where they are. Let's see if they're in my pen drawer. No. Anyhow. Oh yeah, they're in the next pen drawer. New color set. So Mild Smoky and Mild. But if you go to my website, you will see kind of the different colors that are part of those. But yeah, they're a lot of fun. They make it really easy to do your little bullets, but you can also draw with them and do other things. Draw with dots. All right, so that's the first thing on my list. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. But they lost. So Nick and I, my husband, have very much been focusing on trying to date each other. Okay, I know that sounds really funny. We have been married in May, it'll be 28 years. And you know, when you're married or in a relationship with somebody for that long, sometimes you just, you know, you just get you just kind of start just, you know, doing the same old things and watching TV or whatever. So we got a book, and I think it's like a dating adventure book or something like that, but it's a scratch off. It is a scratch off book. And you agree ahead of time that whatever it is, you're going to do what that date is. So we used it for the first time in January, and we scratched it off. And our date was to go to the store to get the things to make ramen, not like ramen from the box or ramen from the package, to make ramen and then watch Lady and the Tramp and recreate the scene of Lady and the Tramp when they were at the little Italian restaurant or in the backyard of the Italian restaurant, and they both eat the noodle. Okay, so that's what it is. And we're like, okay, we're doing it. We went to the store. The ramen was amazing. It was so good. We just Googled, found a recipe, so good. And then we did. That's what this picture is. We had to take a selfie because it says take a picture and add it to the book. We took a selfie of ourselves. There's the little ramen noodle in between us, and then we watched Lady and the Tramp. So it was a lot of fun. So I'm writing that down because we did. We had date night. Date night. We made ramen from scratch, although we didn't make the noodles. Reenacted the spaghetti scene from Lady and the Tramp, and then watch the movie. So that was a lot of fun. So the things that go on my list, on my About Last Month every month, it's whatever I want, right? Doesn't have to be, maybe I went and got flowers. Maybe I was sick. Maybe I went to the dentist. Maybe it was someone's birthday. Whatever it is, I put whatever I want on my list. Let's see, my friend, it was Karen's birthday. It was also Jack, our older son, and my mom's birthday. They have the same birthday, both born on the 14th. So this is one run-on list, and this is what I do every month. I don't have to think a lot. All I have to do is kind of keep track of the things that were happening during the month. And then I write my list, and then it's done. It's all documented, and now it's in the books. And I really didn't have to think a lot about it, right? I told you about my process. I keep a running note on my phone. I look at the photos, decide whatever I'm going to do, and then in it goes, and I'm done. Little time capsule, right? So it's a little time capsule. At the end of the year, I can look back, and then I, especially when I've done it for a couple of years, I can look back and I can go back to March of 2019 and see what was happening. 2019. Well, we know what was happening in March of 2019. A lot, but not a lot, right? Because that's when the pandemic hit. Let's see. Nick, business trip to Vegas. Oh yeah, I know he won. I think he won like $700. So that was fun. Well, I wasn't there, but it was fun that he won and came home with money. I designed 4 new project kits. All right, so I'm going to stop there. Just because I'm basically would just continue, right? But we don't need to do that together. Because I want to spend more time now just talking about some things that we did on the other months, although I just remembered that I forgot to outline that. Something didn't look right, and that's what it was. So that little guy my photo fits right in that pocket, and if I want to add more photos into the pocket, I can add more photos, right? More will fit into that pocket. Let me look at the chat very quickly. Let's see. Da-da-da-da. Jill went to Penn State. Tee yes. Yeah, thanks, Jill. Uh, the University of Utah played Penn State at the Rose Bowl and lost to Penn State. Darn it. Let's see. Alicia likes the idea of the bullet stamps. The dot markers make her OCD come out because I would never be able to get the dots the same size, right? Different strokes for different folks, right? Some people like to stamp. Some people like the dot markers. Some people use both. Denise said, I get it. I've been married to 30 years for this year. Where do I get the book? Denise, email me and I'll send you a link. I don't remember the exact name of the book. I should have pulled it out. It's in the other room. Sarah said, oh my gosh, that is so cute. Christy, we've been doing a date night too as empty nesters, but love the scratchbook for ideas. Okay, you guys, you know what I'll do? Because there's questions about the book. I will post a link in the description box of the video when we're done. I will also go into the Facebook group, the Lael by Mail Facebook group, and I will post it there. If you are not part of the Lael by Mail Facebook group, just go to Facebook and search Lael by Mail. You'll see a page in the group. It's the group. Alicia said, did we use utensils? To eat the ramen, yes, but not when you had to, both of you have the ramen in your mouth. I mean, the noodle, not the ramen, but the noodle. Alicia said, my husband and I will be married 30 years. Congratulations. Oh, okay, hold on. I guess I probably should have read the rest of that. My husband and I will have been married for 30 years at the end of February. We have been separated for almost a year and are getting along better now than when we were together. Life is strange. So Alicia, I guess congratulations could go either way. Maybe it's a good thing, and that's, I'm sure, difficult, but if you're getting along better, then that's good. Pam, my son's birthday is January 14th. All right, so that's January. And that's basically the process, you guys. We spent a ton of time talking about stamping and about getting our Traveler's Notebook set up and skipping pages and decorating the inside cover and all of that. So now let's talk about what happens from here. All right, so I'm going to put this little guy away. That's the one I was just working on. And I'm going to come back to this one. Let's talk a bit about what you could do in between. If you missed earlier, we talked about skipping the spreads in between for a number of different reasons. Not doing your February right after January. Number one, you will see some shadowing and ghosting when you are stamping. That's just what happens. So if I skip in between, I can do different things on this page. If I skip in between, my book will go all the way to the end versus having, it halfway full. So things that you could do on your in-between pages. Number one, I know what some of you do is you add additional photos, right? You add more photos here. Or maybe you want to expand a little bit more on one of the things that was on your list for January. So maybe what I want to do is maybe I want to do a couple more photos. I want to include the list, the recipe of the ramen that we made. Maybe I want to include some pictures of the ramen. So I want to expand on one story, or I want to include more photos from a number of different things. That's one thing I could do here. Another thing that I could do in terms of decorating. Some of you do the bi-monthly Traveler's Notebook kit with me. So, for example, this was what we did to set up February. After we do our setup, there's lots of stickers and things left. So you could take the extra stickers that you have left over and you could decorate these pages, add your photos, do more lists, whatever you want to do. Another thing that you could do, you could come in and do your, hang on, I skipped it. You could do your in the news list. So I do a list, there we go. I do a list, guess what? That's why I had, Lael, sometimes I am so blonde. That's why I had the little sticky there because I did to mark my place. Anyhow, every month I do a list in the news. When I originally started doing about last month, this whole concept right here, I was including news events as well. And I found there was always way too much to fit that one page. So I started separating them, and I do now in the news list every month. So you could have your first spread for January be the things about you. And then the spreads in between could be your in the new. So that's another thing that you could do. Another thing that you could do, this is a list that I started doing in December. So now I've done one for December and one for January. I am doing a list that's a very specific day. So this is very much like a time capsule list. So you could add this list in between and add photos from your day if you wanted. But basically, I am using 3 different products to do this every month. I'm using a package of die cuts for the month. And you wouldn't have to use those because you still know you're in January because that was January, but you could do that if you wanted. So that's that 2023 month die cuts. Then I'm using a pad, a 4x6 pad that has everything I need on it. So I would have consistency. I'm using a same sheet, different sheet from the same pad every month. So I have a consistency. So, sorry, there's a really weird noise outside my window. I'm not sure what that is. Today looks like this. The date, mood, I was cranky that day. This is a list. I used a bullet stamp. This is just a list of the things that I did on January 19th. One good thing today, perfectly imperfect. And then I used chipboard stickers, or chipboard numbers, excuse me, not stickers, but chipboard numbers. So that pack has 1 through 31. So that's another idea of something you could do. Now you wouldn't have to use those products, but you could use that same concept and just take a day in that month and make a list of the things that you did. That's kind of a really cool type of time capsule. If I had something like this from my grandmother, let's say January 19th, 1953, how cool would that be to see what her day was like? Or my mom, February 12th, 1978. It'd be really cool to see what her day was like. Or how about when I was in high school, like September 15th, 1986. Oh no, I had graduated. September 15th, 1985, what my day was like back then. So just kind of another fun idea of documenting some different things that you could use in between your pages. Denise has been doing this with me for a while. So Denise said she tries to use them all. I think she's talking about those stickers that I was talking about, the things that were left over. But I think some of you do a mismatch of lots of different things between the months. So there's some ideas of things that you could put in between the months. And really, if you're like, I really don't want to do anymore, I would just then adhere those pages together. Just use your tape runner, adhere those pages together, and then you'll still have your book complete. Denise said, I use the in-between pages to highlight something special that happened during said month, birthday, holiday, special dinner, etc. Alicia said, how many things do you list per page on average? Alicia, until I run out of room. So, like, look at that one. This was for December 2022. That was for December 2022. And I just start listing. And if I start noticing that I'm getting to the bottom of my list and there are still things on my note that I wanted to make sure that I added, then I start, don't include things. And all the photos, I don't necessarily have photos for things on my list. Likewise, I may have things on my list that I don't have photos for, kind of vice versa. So it really just depends. And sometimes I do a lot more explaining than others. Like this, Sam's 22nd birthday, a solo day of Christmas shopping. So pretty short. Whereas on this one, I explained a little bit more. Date night, we made ramen from scratch, reenacted the spaghetti scene from Lady and the Tramp, and then watched the movie. So it just kind of depends. It just kind of depends. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. I mean, you could have 3 things on your list. It's just that you are explaining a little bit more about those things. Bernadette said, so cute. Thank you. Karen Sturkin. Hi, Karen. Karen said, so glad I caught some of the live. I'm a newbie. Nice to have you, Karen. Yeah, just lots and lots and lots of different ideas about the things that you could do. There is no right or wrong. I always say you do you. I give you examples because I think it helps, especially if you're new. Then you're not like, oh my gosh, you're still trying to get your kind of arms around the whole concept. But I try to give you some different ideas of things that you can do. Other people just completely go rogue and do whatever they want to do. And that's great because at the end of the day, this is my book and your book is in front of you. I will likely never see yours, although some of you, and I love this so much, if we are ever together in person, please bring your book and show me. Please bring your book and show me, because I love to see it. Denise has shown me her book before, and it's so cool to see what you guys do. You guys always see what I do, but it's really cool for me to see what you guys do. I have a very fun story that I will share about that that is actually led to my next release of stamps. I have someone else that's designing them. It's because that person, one time we were together in last October, she brought me her book of her listing that she was doing right along with me through the pandemic. And she was doing some things that were so cool. I said, I want you to create some stamps. And she did. So you'll hear more about that when I release the stamps. But I happened to be with her this weekend, and there were other people there too. But that is her, and you guys are going to get to meet her at some point because she's awesome. But anyhow, yes, I love to see your books. Not to say that, you might get stamps out of it, but it's just so cool for me to see what you guys do because I never get to see it. And I love to see how you kind of change it, make it your own. Mindy, yes. Mindy will see me at a retreat I'm teaching at in August in Spokane. So for sure, bring yours. Yes. Okay. I love it. Denise said, Karen, you may have fallen down the rabbit hole. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun. Okay, so that's a bunch of ideas for what you can do in between the spreads. So let's look at February. And the rest of the spreads we will talk through. If there's something that I need to illustrate and do an example, then I will get stamps out and show you. But basically, along the same lines, I really didn't change anything up for February. I did my stamping. This time I used 3 different colors. I used different die cuts. And remember, when you're ready to do February, your little handy dandy instructions, as much as I hate writing instructions, I take a lot of care in writing them because if I was where you guys are, I would want things to be clear and precise and have as many questions answered as I could. So I try to do that. But for February, it tells you I used a 5x7 photo. It tells you the ink colors I used. It tells you the die cuts I used, the love, the 2 snails, this clip, the fountain pen, the pink heart. It tells you the different stickers I used as well. So if you want to recreate that, it tells you exactly what you're doing there. Really quick on the clip. That is a clip die cut, right? So part of it goes behind your photo and part of it sits on top. That's February. For March, you are doing a couple of things. March, I stamped all in black. I wanted that to be all one color because I used that big camera die cut. So I wanted to pull in a lot of black. The flower that I used, so there's part of the flower there. I had it bleed off the edge. I cut it off. And the part I cut off, I put over here. That flower was the flower that I had in my little baggie of flowers. So remember I said that there are different flowers and different words in kits based on how those were split up because I wanted everybody to have some, but not all. To keep the cost of the kit down for you guys. So you may have that flower, you may not. If you don't have that flower, sub it for one of the flowers that you have in your kit, or grab something from your stash or do whatever you'd like to do. But that's what I did there. If you decide that you want to use exactly what I did, then you can grab the whole package of die cut flowers from Print Shop on my website. All right. Hi, honey.
Hello, honey. Hello, fans.
Hello, fans. Nick's been out of town for a couple days, so he just walked in the door from the airport. Denise, thank you. Denise and Monique, yeah, I'm glad that you guys appreciate the instructions, like I said. And actually, it makes my life easier in the long run, because if I can be clear and concise in my instructions, then that makes it easy for you. All right, so again, I used one of my bullet stamps just to write my list and separate all of those. Over here, I made a pocket. So we made the pocket here. We're making the exact same pocket here, except instead of it being across, we have a slanted pocket. So your instructions tell you for March to trim 3x5 piece. That is left over from this, right? Left over from what we cut off. Trim a 3-inch tall by 5-inch piece. Then it says mark 1 3/4 from the bottom left corner. So I made a mark right there and just cut from there up there. That's how I got that slanted pocket. Then you are using that product strip. Whoop. That is the product strip, right? From one of the papers that we cut. And it just goes right there. And then your little camera goes on top. For these photos, whoopsie, there's one of my little notes. For these photos, and I tacked them in just so they wouldn't move around. Basically what I did, I took a 5x7, 5x7 photo. This was one of the templates on the Epson Creative Print app. So it printed 5x7, and then I just took my scissors and cut between each of those 3 columns of photos to make photo strips, right? They look like little photo strips from the little photo booth, and just tucked them in the pocket. So kind of a different look, but easy. And then put washi right there along the bottom. And then it tells you that there's also washi on the left page. So that's March. April, pretty basic. I have used 3 colors again to stamp. In this case, the line is above. We talked about that at the beginning, that sometimes the line will be above instead of below, because look it, you have that descender on the P. We'd have a heck of a time getting our about last month either over there or over there. That's why the line is above instead of below. So just a little bit of a different look. In this case, April, you have Easter in April, so I am mixing die cuts from both Print Shop and then the custom ones through Pretty Little Studio. So these are little frames that are part of your Print Shop die cuts. So I used the pink and the blue one, and I just adhered them, and I can write something on my list in that little frame. It's a little bit of a different idea. I used 2 of the little bunnies, and then a couple of word strip stickers. Over here, another 4x6 photo. It's just a different configuration. Used a butterfly, a die cut right there. That document die cut is one of those that we cut out from the card when we did January, okay? So that, and every one of those months will tell you all of those things that I just told you. Hang on one sec. I need to have a hydration break. My throat's a little dry. It's a lot of talking. All right, next up we have May. So for May, a little bit different. The line, we have a descender on the Y, and so the line is kind of to the left of the descender. 3 different colors again. I added a die cut with a little sticker in the middle, another sticker. My washi in this case goes all the way across, so it's spanning both pages. A couple die cuts here in the bottom, little tab with the sticker, and then photo. I'm going to come back to this in a minute, okay? So there's a couple of things that we're going to do with our leftovers. So we'll come back to that guy when we're done. June, I used so this started out as a 5x7 photo, and I just didn't add anything along that bottom strip. So I just cut that off. So it makes it now look like I kind of have a square photo instead of a long rectangle, because I had, those 2 little bird die cuts that I wanted to make sure to include. 3 different colors again there. I did the same technique with my flower, where I had it bleed off the edge there, and then put the rest of it over there. July. So for July, I 3 different colors again there. I pulled in, it definitely is not red, white, and blue, right? Because I'm using the abandoned coral. I very specifically used abandoned coral here instead of barn door, okay? Because the die cuts over on the right-hand side go better with abandoned coral than they do barn door. And I really didn't want it to be like a lot of red, white, and blue, but here in the US, it is 4th of July, so if you didn't want it to seem so 4th of July-y, you could just eliminate that star die cut, and then it wouldn't be so 4th of July-y. Along the bottom here, I have used the product strip, right? That is one of our little product strips that we cut off, right? Cute, right there along the bottom. And this is another pocket. If you missed at the beginning, we covered this, but one little error in your instructions. The pocket measurements here say 3 by 3 3/4. It is 3 by 5. It needs to be 5-inch width because that's the width of your insert. So that's 3 by 5, or excuse me, yeah, 3 by 5. So that's another pocket. In this case, I added 2 4 by 6 photos into the pocket. And then I used that round die cut on top of the pocket. Okay, so I just layered some things. So you'll see that in the instructions. Your instructions will tell you all that, but now you can kind of just see it up a little bit closer. Then we move to August. So August, I did the same thing again, but that is with a 4 by 6 photo. So just cut off that last row. Washi all the way across the bottom. This awesome word, and your instructions tell you this, the awesome word comes from that baggie, not the die cuts, but it comes from the baggie. That's when I split apart the flowers die cut. So you have a word, your word may be awesome, your word may be something different than awesome. So if you don't have awesome, doesn't mean you're not awesome, it just means that you have a different word based on how those were split up. All right, let's see. Oh, we'll cover this one in a minute as well. September. So for September, this is one of 2 times where I use Hickory Smoke. And that is one of the Distress Ink oxide colors. Because I didn't want to do all black, because now we're kind of getting into some of the darker die cuts, and we're kind of moving out of summer a little bit. So I thought the Hickory Smoke is still a nice neutral, but not as heavy as black. And then it kind of matches with our little squirrel over here. You do have both, you have all 3 of those leaf die cuts because they're from the Pretty Little Studio pack. This guy, again, you may or may not have. You have some kind of leaf. You have a couple different kinds of leaves in your little baggie from the Split Apart Flowers pack. So you may or may not have that one. All right, October. I know, Denise said she loves that color, Hickory Smoke. I love that too. I'm very anxious to receive the new one. Now I'm totally drawing a blank. The new gray. Because Hickory Smoke's now in my mind. Anyhow, can't wait for that one. Next up, October. So October, this is something that I'm going to demonstrate. I want to demo this so you can see how it works. But before I get there, over here, I've used a 4 by 6 photo. Used our second little clip die cut, so it almost looks like that clip is holding our photos. You have that little cat, oh my gosh, cat pumpkin die cut. Here I have taken you have the yellow, this little yellow guy that we did not use before, okay? The yellow, Lost Shadow, thank you, Jill. That yellow piece I put right here, and it bled off the edge, and then I put the rest of it over here. So we kind of have yellow now on both sides. And then the rest of that little product strip. But let's take a look at this. I want to show you guys what I did for October. October, I think, is the only month that I did not use the 2023 because I did something here, and then I felt like I wanted to get that star there. So I'm going to bring this up close to the camera. I created a shadow effect. Do you see how you have the black? The black is sitting on top. And then underneath that, you also have OCT. Sorry, I realized, well, you can kind of see it. I was a little bit off camera there. But do you see how you have OCT, October, stamped again, and it is offset? I stamped that using Hickory Smoke. So that is super easy to do a shadow effect like that. There are a couple tips here that I talked about that I said I would come back to when we were talking about these stamping tips. So let's go back to those for a minute. Number 11, when stamping in layers, I prefer to stamp color. Now this is, I did a little bit different here. I prefer to stamp color on top of black for a more muted look versus black on top of color. Try both ways on scratch paper to see which way you prefer. Remember number 5 above. I think number 5 above was supposed to say practice, test stamp first. I must have moved the numbers around. There was one more. Let's just do it. Let's just do it and I'll show you. If you stamp test first, practice first, you can see which way you like the look better. In that case, when I'm doing a shadow effect, generally I will put like the shadow-y color, like the gray, down first and then put whatever color on top of it. So I use black and I used hickory smoke for that. So let's grab, I am going to do January. Since January is already primed, I don't want to get October out and go through the whole priming process. So we're just going to do, we'll just use January. So I'm starting with that kind of shadow color, right? I am going to put that down first, get that all nice and inked up, and I'll just do my little test here. Okay, get that all nice and inked up. There we go. And I will clean it, even though it's black, that's gonna go on top, I will clean it. I can see I have a little like hair on there, I think, maybe. Let me look and see. I do not. Okay, so I need to dry that. Let me put that in front of my fan here really quick. We'll just try to get that a little bit dry. Now I'm going to take the second layer, the black. If you're looking for a good black, this is my go-to. It's the VersaFine Clair Nocturne. It is a pigment-based ink. It is the best black, I think, in my opinion. And I carry that. All right, so now I'm going to offset that. I usually go a little bit, I don't know, either I go to the left or to the right, above or below, not too much. Let's just try that and see what we get. Okay, there we go. There's my shadow. So I can definitely here see more of the gray than we see here. Okay, we definitely see a little bit more of the gray. I also, on this guy, get that out of the way so it doesn't get us. On this guy, I stamped the black a little bit above and to the left. Okay, so you can do above, below, right, left. Generally, you don't want to try to stamp right on top. But here, I wasn't paying too close attention. I really stamped right next to it. I didn't go above or below. And really, I think with a true shadow, it seems like you're usually a little bit above or below. So just kind of two different examples. All right, two different examples. And that is something I would definitely play with. Play in your little test scratch paper or whatever it is first. You can try stamping different colors. I used black and gray here because that worked really well with Halloween, especially since we had kind of that gray in the clip. But play, you know what? Take two different colors. Take a yellow and a green and see what happens when you layer them on top of each other. You definitely want to clean the stamp in between. If you're using a pigment-based ink versus a dye-based ink, you may start to get your colors blending a little bit together. So if you use a yellow first and you put a blue on top, then where they blend together, you're probably going to get a little bit of green because that's what happens with your pigment-based inks. All right, so playing, it's all about playing. You never know what's going to work or not work unless you kind of experiment first. And this type of thing is the perfect place for doing your experimenting in your little notebook. All right, let's take a look at November. So November is just kind of a mismatch of different things from die cuts from Print Shop. So I have 3 different colors that I stamped there. I used this long die cut because it really didn't fit horizontally, so I used it vertically. And then I pulled in the other die cuts that kind of had this similar look, like this. This is a circle. So I just buried the bottom part of the circle underneath my photo. Love was one of those clips like we saw in February, right? But instead of having it go over the photo, I just tucked it right under so you don't even see it. Okay? And then that takes us to December. So December, I used just 2 different colors. I used, oh, well, it'll tell you. I think that's the barn door. Yeah, that's the barn door. So I used barn door there. I used evergreen bough, pulled in a die cut. Used lots of the red stickers and red and green die cuts here. There's one last thing I want to show you about what I did to create photo corners here. So I'll show you that in 1 sec, and then I've got to show you a couple other things. But down here, I just layered a bunch of die cuts. So started with a green little label, and then added the brown, added the little Santa, added the present, and then a heart. All right. So let's take a look at how I made the photo corners. So the photo corners are coming from this piece. So when I looked at this, I'm like, it doesn't really, it's kind of big. Where am I going to put it? I don't really want to use it. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to use this. And so the way I figured out is to build photo corners. I'm going to show you something. This is my book. When I start designing a class, this is my book where I make my sketches. This is what I use to do all of the, like if we're cutting a lot of 12 by 12 paper, this is where I note all of that as I'm working, all the sketches and things. I want to show you the one. This is what I was doing when I was designing this class. So when I was starting with the months and the inks, what inks I used, little notes of different things I did. But so I would remember, this is what I had left over after I created the photo corners. So super easy to create the photo corners. Let me go to the instructions because I need to reference a measurement. So let me get to December. Guess what? I did not tell us what I did. All right. Let me see. Oh, here I did. But I didn't put in the instructions for some reason. Fold in half. Okay. I folded it in half. Like so. So I kind of have a mirror. Right? I folded it in half. And then I measured... I don't know why I didn't put this in the instructions. I'm sorry. I measured 3 centimeters. I know we don't normally use centimeters. Let's find my little ruler. It is a mess in here. It is one giant mess. Oh, here we go. All right. So I measured 1, 2, 3 centimeters over. Let me make a little mark here. Right there. And then I measured 3 centimeters this way. It's probably because whatever I had was not, whatever, it would have to be like 5/16 of an inch. And I didn't want people to lose their minds by having to deal with 16. So 3 centimeters. Make that little mark here. And then make that little mark along here. All right, so basically what I am doing, I am taking my scissors, or if I'm uncomfortable with my scissors, I can take my trimmer and I can trim mark to mark. Okay, there. And down here, I can trim mark. So I just did 3 centimeters, 3 centimeters. I can trim mark to mark. That's the piece I have left over. Okay. So now all of those are all the same size. Doing that mirror helps, right? Doing that mirror, folding it in half, kind of like when we were little kids and you wanted to make a heart, you'd fold the piece of paper in half and just cut half of the heart. Same thing. So those are your photo corners. So those I just slide right in before I put my photo. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of other things I want to show you. Let's go to not in the instructions. I will show you. So we're going to go to, I wonder why I didn't put these in the instructions. I do not know, friends. I don't know. Okay, so I've created a little tip in here. This is a tip in. Remember when we did the waterfall and I said that was a tip in? This is also a tip in. We're tipping this piece into the center of one of our pages. So you could do this anywhere. I just threw it somewhere. You could use it in this particular Traveler's Notebook insert, or you could use this somewhere else. But I thought it'd be fun to show you this little technique. So what you have left over, this is really weird because I swear, hang on. I swear I remember writing these instructions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where they are, friends. Yeah, anyhow, I will show you. So what we have here, this is, I'm just going to deconstruct this for a minute. This is from, let's cut this first. Okay, so piece that you have left over, we are going to trim. This is 4 inches, probably by 8. Let me look. I'm also going to, I'm going to go back. I know I wrote these instructions somewhere, so I'm going to go find them when we're done. And I will, and if I didn't write them, if I just in my brain think I wrote them, then I will, oh, hang on. Maybe this is where I wrote them. Bear with me, behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. No, I'll write them and then send them to everybody. Anyhow, so what we have here, although it's pretty simple, we have 4 inches wide by 7 3/4. So I'm going to trim that first from this piece that I have. 4 inches wide by 7 3/4. So let's trim our 4 inches wide first. 4 inches wide by 7 3/4. So that is the piece we are going to tip in. This could be if I have more photos that I want to add. Let's say here, I want to add more photos. I could do this with a photo, right? I could do this exact same thing with a photo and do a tip in this way where I'm about to show you. Or I could add my photos to, forget it. I could add my photos to this. I had rounded the corners. For time's sake, I won't round the corners. But tip in, super simple. Just as we did on that waterfall, all we're doing is taking our washi and we are applying, adhering, not applying, our washi. So it is half on the piece that we're tipping in and half on the insert. I always prefer to start with the back side first. I don't know why. It's just I've always done that. So half on the piece that I'm tipping in and half on the insert. Now I'm doing that really quick, so it's not going to be super nice and neat. And then if I want to get a nice edge here, I can just find where I need to do that. And hang on. Use the edge of my ruler to rip it. All right, so now I want to open that. And I did not do that well at all. You get the gist. I want to do the same thing here. So I am half on the insert and half on the piece I am tipping in. When you're doing this, the more to the end of the insert that you go, a little bit more difficult it is to do because you're not really laying flat. I'll show you what I mean in a sec. Because I have more that's happened here than has happened on this side, it kind of has to curve around the inside. Okay, so you can do that wherever in your insert, but the more you stay closer to the center or even the beginning of your insert, it's a little bit easier. The later you get on your insert, a little bit harder it is to do. It's kind of what's happening here. It has to kind of make that curve. It's also because I did it fast. So that's the first one. That is just a super basic tip in. You could make that as wide as you wanted, but I made it that width just so we'd have some paper left over. So that's what that is. Now let's do this guy. Because this, I am going to take what I have left over, and that is 4 inches. So it's 4 inches by 8. So let's trim that down to 4 inches tall. All right, so that is that piece right there. I am scoring it at 4 1/4. Don't mind me, I'm just working on top of what I'm working on. I'm scoring that at 4 1/4. Folding that over like so. So folded it like that. I rounded that corner just so you could kind of see what was happening there. Round that upper corner and created a tip in exactly how I did the one there. Just partially on that piece, partially on the insert, flip it over. I made this into a pocket, and I made that into a pocket just by applying my adhesive there along the bottom. So I can do that. And now I have a little side pocket. So I can put things in the pocket that way. All right. Then I took a little bit of what I had left over from here. Look, I made another little pocket. Now I forgot to, I forgot to seal up the bottom. Well, what I did was I put the adhesive in the wrong place. It doesn't matter. I forgot to seal up the bottom. So, but I made another pocket on top of my pocket. So if I wanted a place where I could like store my little die cuts, if I wanted to work in my traveler's notebook later, I could do that. So I'm just showing you a couple of different ideas on how to create different tip-ins in some of that extra space, whether you use it in this project or whether you take those concepts and use it in another one of your traveler's notebooks, then you can do that. Woo! Okay, friends, I am going to turn on the overhead light. I'm going to turn off the studio lights. I am going to flip the camera. Jill said, such great layouts and ideas. Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, Denise said she learned something new. I don't know what it was, Denise, but I'm glad you learned something new. I am going to rotate the camera, okay? Jill said, great idea to cut down a frame for photo corners. Woo! Sorry about that. That was way crooked. Okay. Kelly said, good night, everyone. It's 11 p.m. in Michigan, past my bedtime. Thank you, Lael, for all your hard work putting the class together. You are welcome. Those of you that had to go to bed, good for you. I'm glad you listened to your body and your mind and said, I have to go to bed. You can come back and watch anytime, right? It could be July and you're watching the end of this. And you're like, why is she in a sweater? It's July. It's January and it's like 5 degrees outside, so that's fine. Let's see. Let me take a look at the chat real quick. Valerie said, thanks, Lael. So much fun. Thank you, Valerie. Sarah said, great class, Lael. Thank you, Monique. Lael, you did a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad you guys enjoyed it. Heather, so fun. Another great year in review for us. Love it. Yeah, I kind of switched it up a little bit this year. Switching up the photos, totally new stamp set, and of course, new product that we're working with. So that is fun. Marie said, can't wait for her kit. She's ready to start. Marie, I think either shipped today or it's shipping tomorrow. I don't remember which one, but I remember pulling your order. Jeanette said, always love hanging with the TN gals. I am glad you had fun. All right, guys. So, basically, we got everything done that I wanted to get done. We spent a ton of time at the beginning getting our Traveler's Notebook cover set, or our pocket set, getting our insert decorated, and then we spent a lot of time talking about stamping. That is the most important thing from my perspective that we talk about this evening, because the stamping is a huge part of this project. And I know some people are afraid to stamp. So hopefully that whole almost full page of tips and tricks and techniques that we went through, remember those. And that applies to any stamping that you're doing, whether you're stamping in a Traveler's Notebook, whether you're stamping on a layout or a card or a tag or whatever. Those are really good tried and true tips and techniques to set you up for successful stamping. Having the wipes, cleaning in between, all of the things, testing, all of that, priming your stamps. So hopefully there were some things that were helpful to you there and that you can use in your other crafting projects besides this one as well. So what you will see me do in terms of finishing this project, what I mentioned earlier is I will not, for the rest of the year, be working in this book. I won't be working in this book because I do my About Last Month lists, in my regular old inserts. So I just kind of keep going and going and going. So this was December. And on the 11th, when we're together again on a Saturday, February 11th, then I will be continuing along, and then I'll have my About Last Month for January. So I just keep using one insert and I go and go and go for all of my lists. So that's the way I do it. No right or wrong way. But I think most of you do it this way because you have the kit. So that makes sense. So you will see me every Saturday, well, not every Saturday, one Saturday a month. You will see me do my About Last Month. And I will always, this year for 2023, be using that stamp set. I will probably change things up here, but you will always see me use that stamp set. If you guys have any questions, whether you are watching live or you're watching the replay, shoot me an email. You can either leave a comment on the video itself and I'll be notified. And I will respond to your comment, or you can email me. You can either reply to an email that I've sent you for the class, or you can just go to my website and click contact us and email me and answer your questions. Sometimes it takes me a couple days. Don't think I'm ignoring you if I'm traveling or I'm like heads down designing. Also, I tell you, don't be shy. If it's been a couple days and I haven't answered you yet, don't be shy. It's okay. Email again. All right, you guys. So Anne enjoyed tonight. I'm so glad. Heather also love all the Layout exclusive products. Yay. Thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoy those. That just makes it a little bit more unique. And great companies that I work with. I am not a large company. I'm a little small business, doing whatever I can. So I love it that there are other small businesses that are willing to do exclusive things for me, because that's really awesome. That is just, I love like women supporting women, small business supporting small business, and it's just a great community. So very much thank you to Melissa at Pretty Little Studio and Jessica at Colorcast Designs. Okay, you guys. Oh, good. Alicia said she took a lot of notes, has her photos ready to print, and page ideas ready to make. Love it, love it, love it. Notes are always good. Denise, loads of fun as usual. Thank you all for the rock star in our TN world. Thank you, Denise. Marie had fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, enjoy Hawaii. We're leaving Thursday. Nick has business, and I get to tag along. So that is not a bad little spot for me to be in, tagging along on his business trip. And Shannon, loves spending the night with you. Lael, loves spending the night with you, Shannon, and all of you guys. And those of you watching the replay, I love spending any time with you too. So if we're able to make it tonight, then we're still spending time together, just another way. Okay, friends. Oh, one more thing. Tomorrow night is What's New Wednesday. Before I leave. So tomorrow night is February 1st. I'll be doing a What's New Wednesday live here on my YouTube channel, where I will be showing you new things on my website and talking a little bit about why I brought them in. Last thing, I will be gone. There is a big red header on my website that's been there for about a week or so that says any orders placed after midnight, February 1st, will not ship until Monday, February 13th. So if you had some things in mind that you wanted, and if you need them sooner than later, then get that order in, and the sooner you can get it in, the better, because anything received after midnight, that means I'll be working before we leave town to get them out. But that's important to me because if it was me, I would want it. All right, friends, thank you for spending time with me tonight. I hope that you enjoyed tonight. I hope you enjoyed class. If you're new to that whole concept of About Last Month, then I hope that you just have your little mind, all kinds of ideas spinning, because it really is a fun process. So I hope to see you guys soon, somewhere out there on the interwebs. And everybody take care. And if nothing else, I hope to see you here on Saturday the 11th, because we'll be listing live. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.